I remember when I was a kid and I used to think, I love UFOs, and maybe when I'm older, I can make videos about the stories other people make up about UFOs, and then, make money. What a career. Wow. What? I never took people's money for nothing. I mean, next you'll be comparing me to Dr. Stephen Greer. Are we still on camera? No. Good. Aren't they suckers?
My question is, when there are unsubstantiated claims or manufactured claims of UAPs or kind of false information that's put out there.
I have seen the logs. I have seen the videos. We have attempted shootdowns of UAPs on a regular basis. We're talking as recently as last Friday.
My question is, when there are unsubstantiated claims or manufactured claims of UAPs or kind of false information that's put out there.
I have seen the logs. I have seen the videos. We have attempted shootdowns of UAPs on a regular basis. We're talking as recently as last Friday.
Yes.
Alien scientist Jeremy Corbell on CNN a week before the balloon up. Just a coincidence?
Well, Corbell is like, he's like the clown. He's like the circus clown. And he needs to kind of come out and do the clown bit. What happens with somebody like that is, they go on Fox News, they go on CNN, and they say UFO expert. Okay, so first of all, how do you even become a UFO expert? This guy made a film about Bob Lazar, and before that, he was a condo guy. He ran a condo, so he's not a UFO expert. He's probably somebody who is a UFO enthusiast, and so he got on this thing with George Knapp, and George Knapp. It's tough to look at his career because he brought forward things in the 90s and in the 2000s. And then he got involved with Bigelow and TTSA and Elizondo and DeLong. And, it's all CIA wash. So I don't know. I don't even know how to comment on somebody like Knapp. But now that he's wrapped up with Corbell, forget it. And they're there at CNN's, saying, CNN wants to get to the bottom of this, and that damn government better give us the truth, when all the people around them feeding them this false information are all government people. Elizondo's government, Gary Nolan is CIA, over a decade of CIA. I mean, come on, these are government people. So that damn government, this whole thing, Elizondo is an ex-Pentagon fighter, he never left the Pentagon. He's not ex-anything. So it's a joke. That was a narrative. And so we have some people in the media, let's say there are good people in the media. Let's say even Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson were trying to do something, and they're like, we're covering UFOs and stuff. And they bring in all these CIA people to talk about the subject. That's the problem that I have with it. They do not have the background and the information on it. So someone like CNN working with Corbell, they can create a whole phony setup, basically, of CNN wants to get to the bottom of the UFO thing and really milk it. And this guy, is dropping F-bombs every 2 seconds about it. It's to downgrade the whole thing. That is the exact opposite of disclosure. It has nothing to do with disclosure at all. It's a circus marketing freak show. Thank you, alien scientist, for that question.
So on this podcast, it's fair to say we're going to talk a lot about
UFOs.
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 Full-time into UFOs.
Over 100 UFOs. The UFOs.
The UFO world came to my door.
There's UFO sightings and more.
Okay.
Okay.
This is really interesting.
What is your best piece of evidence that UFOs are real? Show it to me. Show it to me. Put it in my hands.
The sexual things that aliens had done.
Fuck this.
Yeah. This field is a mess. This topic is an absolute disaster.
all this shit about UFOs.
UFOs may not be extraterrestrial.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Corbell. I'm really into this, but I'm not a crazy person. I really want to know the truth. I've got a few things that I've been doing.
The hell was that?
UFOs.
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 UFOs every day.
Nonsense, 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 it's garbage science. Nonsense, 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 it's garbage science. Nonsense, 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 it's garbage science. Nonsense, 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 it's garbage science. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense.
Spheres.
We have no evidence.
Pyramids.
We have no evidence.
Cubes.
We have no evidence.
And cigars.
We have no evidence.
Spheres.
We have no evidence.
Pyramids.
We have no evidence.
Cubes.
We have no evidence.
And cigars.
We have no evidence.
Spheres.
We have no evidence.
Pyramids.
We have no evidence.
Cubes.
We have no evidence.
And cigars.
We have no evidence.
Spheres.
We have no evidence.
Pyramids.
We have no evidence.
Cubes.
We have no evidence.
And cigars.
We have no evidence. 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 No evidence. We have no evidence, no evidence, no evidence, no evidence, 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 evidence.
What do you have to say to people who say, well, if this is leaked footage, you know, this is people trying to get out their own agenda. This isn't necessarily credible. What do you have to say to people who say, well, if this is leaked footage, you know, this is people trying to get out their own agenda. This isn't necessarily credible.
Set the scene for us here. Those appear to be flares, kind of in a triangle shape. Do you think that that could be what these Marines saw? Set the scene for us here. From the Marines, did they ever try to file a report with the government? Real quick, set the scene for us here.
Yeah, so this happened back in 2021, and I thought it was flares.
Jeremy Corbell.
Hey, man, great to see you. Thank you.
There is something in the sky over the desert here in California. Something, again, I guess you have to call it a UFO. Because I don't know what this is we're looking at. It is definitely weird, but earlier this week, Jeremy Corbell, who we've had on the show, where he's going to be joining us in just a moment.
And George Knapp.
From the Marines, did they ever try to file a report with the government? Yes, that was the problem. We weren't getting information.
Truthseekers, seeking the truth. A truth so bold it's hard to hold. Truthseekers, truthseekers, yeah. Place the cash, place the kind.
Greetings and salutations, old friends and hopefully some new friends. Tonight, we've got quite a history lesson for you on Jeremy Corbell, who I call the boy who cries aliens and cries alien spaceships. And of course, this is a takeoff of the old saying, the boy who cried wolf, an old wives' tale, but I think a very wise one After all, how many times could that boy falsely cry wolf before no one cared when he cried wolf? And that, my friends, is the situation that we find ourselves in with one Jeremy Corbell, who it's very clear has an incredible bias and a slant. And every video that he sees that's a little strange or at first unexplained or unexplainable, he sees alien spaceships. And by the way, he has tried to lie his way out. Like, oh, I didn't say aliens. I didn't say it was aliens. They do this dance where they, you know, it's that old saying, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it's aliens. And that dance has gotten old. And Mr. Corbell's recent project, in which he presented 2 mysterious videos, have been completely, I think, to most rational people's minds, already debunked that quickly. Not quite as quickly as the flare video, which was debunked, I don't know, an hour after or 2 hours after he originally broadcast it. You remember that one where he claimed flares were a giant spaceship or craft? And it's this sort of history that I think is important, because history of these people matters. After all, if somebody makes one incredible claim, that's one thing. But what if they've made 10 incredible claims? What if they've made 50 or 100 incredible claims? And then stack on top of all those incredible claims a complete and total lack of evidence or evidentiary support that those things are anything extraordinary. That's what we get with Jeremy Corbell. And history matters. And his track record of pushing everything as aliens, it's getting ridiculous at this point. After all, how many times can this boy cry aliens before nobody cares what he has to say? And thankfully, I think we're finally approaching that point after years and years and years of this man claiming aliens with little or no evidence. Track record matters. And, you know, history matters too. And I get that people want to believe these stories, but how many times can somebody like Jeremy Corbell or his partner there, George Knapp, how many times can they profit from a mostly fake, probably fake, or definitely fake story? These things matter. How many times, also, you have to ask yourself, how many times in your personal or professional life, let's say, how many times would you be 100% sure that somebody has lied to you? How many times would you let that person keep lying to you, continue to lie to you, before you say, this person is a liar and shady and not someone I want to listen to or allow into my life at all? I know my answer for that. I give everybody 1 or 2. But, you know, after a while, if somebody keeps lying to you, the leopard does not change their spots after all. Is he suddenly going to tell everybody the truth? And I love these disclosure dork advocates who put this lying, shady guy on a pedestal. Oh, he's a hero of disclosure. Well, tonight, we're going to go through his entire history, or a lot of it, of his fake stories. And then you can decide whether this man belongs on a pedestal or if he should be banned from this whole thing. How many times is he going to make money selling a completely and totally fake story before we say, that's it, you've done it enough times, you're done here, get out, Mr. Shady, from the Shady bunch? Now, I know from my experience and my few years of doing this that people would much rather believe the pretty lie than to accept the ugly truth. But even when the truth is ugly, it's worth having, my friends. So tonight we're going to bring you the ugly truth about Jeremy Corbell, his bad standards of evidence, the way that he deceptively manipulates and edits his stories to sell them as something mysterious, when quite often they're not anything mysterious. And now he has a proven track record of over and over and over again pushing something that's not mysterious as something mysterious. And the reason he does that is because he collects millions of dollars doing this. And we know that because he just purchased, a $1.8 million property, right? And there are some people claiming that he's walking around with a $75,000 watch on, all while creating a docuseries complaining that he doesn't get paid for UFOs while he's walking by a homeless man, and just after he gets out of a reported $135,000 SUV. And he has 3 film deals with Orchard, a monetized podcast, speaking fees. Hey, boy, for not getting paid for UFOs, he certainly is involved in a lot of commercial UFO-related projects and products. Are we all supposed to believe? Are we all supposed to be that dumb that he's going to publicly say in his own docuseries he doesn't get paid for UFOs? Hey, Jeremy, how much did TMZ pay you for that docuseries that you say you don't get paid for UFOs in? The level of arrogance of this man and the denial of reality that you have to live in to believe that he's going to tell you the truth. A guy that's, how many times has he been caught lying? Just the I don't get paid for UFOs lie should be enough that no one would believe anything he ever says anymore. It's public record. Go Google Orchard film deal, Jeremy Corbell. You'll find a 3-film deal that he got. All 3 of those films are about UFOs and aliens, right? But he doesn't get paid for UFOs. How many times are we going to let this guy lie to us before we say no more? No more, friends. We've had enough. So Jeremy Corbell's stories work through completely, totally bad standards of evidence, through the lie by omission. He never presses the witnesses. Oh, and the big bluff. Several times now, he's claimed he has all these witnesses that refute the debunks, right? Oh, can't be flares. I've got 100 witnesses that are all military experts that say they're not flares. Broadcast them. Where are the interviews with them? Or did you just lie and bluff because you got caught selling flares as alien spaceships? I'm at a loss. But we're going to begin. We're going to begin tonight with. We're going to begin with the lie and the pretending that he doesn't claim that they're craft or alien spacecraft. Yes, he does. An excellent researcher at Like It Matters 3 on Twitter, Charlie Weiser, has an excellent post about that. We'll begin tonight to show you. Let's peel back some layers of deception, right? Where he says, "Oh, we didn't say it was spaceships. We never said spaceships." Well, you said craft 16 times, right? And that's another thing. Interestingly, in our conversation with Brian Dunning from Skeptoid, he was absolutely right in a specific point that he made. In the history, 70 years of people claiming that something is an extraordinary craft or mysterious, out of the ordinary, couldn't be human craft, or whatever you want to say, in the entire history of all of this, do you know how many times anybody has proved it? Never once. Never once. So Mr. Corbell can say whatever he wants. I believe that he purposefully misleads the audience to believe, it's like I said, the old saying, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. We're going to put our fair use banner up. And by the way, I just want to mention everything we share is in the spirit of fair use. Some of these things may be comedic parodies and are therefore covered under fair use. This is one of them. But we're also using these videos to criticize, critique, and educate the public. We're discussing these in a public forum here. This is certainly allowable by law and covered under fair use. So let's get into one of the things I have to share tonight. By the way, we've got a very data-rich stream tonight. And most of the sources that I'll be sharing are in the description of this video or podcast. But before we begin, let me also remind you that we are now broadcasting live with a new distribution partner, and that would be Instagram. and they have fixed the glitch or error that previously only allowed us to broadcast the first hour of our broadcasts. Now we can broadcast the entire thing. So be sure to follow me on Instagram. It's at Truthseeker Show on Instagram. I will be broadcasting every show on Instagram going forward, and we'll be using that account to share some imagery. So anything related to the show will be on Instagram at Truthseeker Show. So let's get into Jeremy Corbell. This is a great video by Charlie Weiser, which displays the point that these guys they always try to weasel out of it. Like, we never said it was aliens. Yeah, you pretty much did. You implied. You did the dance, we're not saying it's aliens, but it can't be human craft. Oh, it can't be flares, can't be this, can't be that, can't be drones. And it always turns out to be that. Balloons, drones. Well, not always, but a lot of the times in the case of Jeremy Corbell, it turns out to be balloons or drones or flares or some other ordinary prosaic earthly explanation that these so-called UFO experts all deny in order to still sell the story. Now, one can ask themselves, are they purposefully lying to everybody? Or are they just the dumbest, laziest UFO experts on planet Earth? You be the judge, friends. How many times have they been caught doing this so far? How many more times are we going to let them lie to everybody for cash? How many more millions of dollars? How many more $1.8 million properties is Jeremy Corbell going to buy? How many more expensive SUVs or crazy expensive watches is the UFO community going to buy this lying, shady clown who keeps getting caught pushing ordinary things as aliens, or probably aliens, or it must be aliens, or it's got to be aliens? And by the way, he's sure going out on a limb, and now he's making more ridiculous statements about aliens and UFOs and crash recovered alien biologics. And we're going to share all of it with you tonight. So strap yourself in. This is going to be a banger tonight. I've had it with this guy.
You remember last week in that show where we declared our belief that this is an alien spaceship, an emissary from the planet Kondak, right?
How might it react if it's intelligently controlled?
Was it you who said that?
I'm definitely saying that we have a spaceship. No, I fucking didn't say that. I was very clear.
This was an object. The object was sitting there. So I'm not going to say object anymore. It was a craft. It was a craft.
It was a craft. Here, the $1 million UFO expert who gets paid millions of dollars for his work in UFOs, which, by the way, he claims in his own docuseries he doesn't get paid for. Yeah, it's great. It's great, right? He's calling flares a craft here. This multi-million-dollar UFO expert.
It's a craft. It was a craft. This is something Arrow should know about.
My mom.
This craft, right on top of this craft that was there to illuminate this craft and what this string of lights on a craft looked like. So this was not flares, not flares, not flares. The craft was sitting there, and while the craft is stationary,
not flares,
you could see the shape of the craft. As it's getting close to that craft, the entire craft disappeared. So this was not flares, not flares, not flares.
My mom.
This is something that was a mass sighting of a UFO, an incursion over a military base. This was a craft. This was a craft. This was a craft.
My mom.
If there is an incursion of an unknown craft of unknown origin that can hover like that with zero sound.
No, I fucking didn't say that. My mom reads UFO Twitter and sends me really mean stuff that people say.
Yeah. So he never said spacecraft. He just said craft 27 times. He just claimed that it couldn't be flares. And by the way, we're going to get into the debunk on that and show you that this so-called UFO expert who has had various careers of being, a warrior yoga instructor, what was he, an MMA fighter. He was also a quantum jujitsu instructor. Go ask anybody that is actually a jujitsu instructor what quantum jujitsu is. He was also a visual artist and a filmmaker. All the careers of some guy that's never worked a day in his life, if you ask me. How much of all of that did your parents bankroll for you, Mr. Corbell, before you finally learned to cash in on just lying to people about aliens and UFOs, or at the very least, playing extremely fast and loose with available evidence, doing things like denying things that flares over a military exercise could possibly be flares, right? It's ridiculous that this guy is making this kind of money. And just to be clear, occasionally I'll get some nasty message like, oh, you're just jealous because he's making more money than you. No. And in fact, I do not now, nor have I ever paid my, personal and household expenses with this show or anything. So unlike Corbell lying to you and saying, I don't get paid for UFOs, well, I don't. The show here gets some support, and yes, we cover UFOs, but I do not use any of the show's income. It goes in the till. Anytime our show here needs something like these fancy sets and cool lighting or whatever we decide, it comes out of the till for the show. But I don't pay my bills with show money, and I certainly don't buy $1.8 million properties or $100+ thousand SUVs or, expensive watches or anything like that. No. So, these things matter. I don't know what it is with him. I think that he has, perhaps maybe he does have, people are arguing with me that he doesn't have a conscience, or he wouldn't keep lying to everybody and keep getting caught with all these fake stories if he actually had a conscience. But there's some reason that he wants people to think he's a working class hero. And I'm here to tell you, if you're buying $1.8 million properties, driving around in a $100,000 plus SUV and wearing a $50,000 or $75,000 watch, you're not a working class hero. You're not. And you should not think people are going to be stupid enough to believe you when you pretend to be. But we're going to get into this man's history of selling fake stories. And we're going to begin with, remember I mentioned he had a 3-film deal. I hear it was a very lucrative deal. After all, those films were on all the streaming services. But according to Corbell, he doesn't get paid for UFOs. I guess he just did all of that out of the goodness of his own heart. Like, can we see the contracts where you accepted no money for those 3 UFO related films? Can we see your tax returns to prove your statement in your own docuseries that you don't get paid for UFOs? Or was that a lie, Corbell? And you need to address this, right? That's another thing. He never addresses any of the criticism. He just runs away and pretends he didn't say things. Just like in the example, I didn't say spacecraft. I just said the word craft 67 times in one 2-hour podcast, or however many times he said it. It's ridiculous. But we'll begin tonight with an examination of the abysmal, garbage-peddled films that he has produced. And again, all of the evidence and proof that he plays fast and loose with the facts, he turns things that are not mysterious into alien and UFO mysteries. It's all out there, and we're going to be sharing it all with you tonight. This needs to stop. We need to cut these people from the UFO community like a cancer. And to all you stupid people who think that, he's just doing his best and this and that. Track record matters. History matters. And if we go through the history here, what we see is a pattern of him doing the same thing over and over and over again, playing fast and loose with the facts, using abysmal fake sources that no real or reputable journalist would trust as the basis of his stories, and more. We begin with Patient 17. Small incision, big mystery, a Jeremy Kenton Lockerbie. What is his name? He's got 4 names. They used to call him 4 names. Locker Corbell film. He's since dropped all that pretension, I guess. But interestingly, so this film is about Roger Lear. And people need to know the truth about this story. Roger Lear was a wackadoo. He was a complete and total wackadoo who made all kinds of alien and UFO claims throughout his lifetime. And I hate to speak ill of the dead, but in order to make this a complete and succinct presentation, we have to talk about him. So Roger Lear made various claims throughout his lifetime. And some of those claims involved him removing so-called alien implants from people. But what you need to know about Roger Lear is that Roger Lear had zero qualifications for removing implants from people. And in fact, he was a podiatrist, a foot doctor. You stub your toe, you got an ingrown toenail, you go to Roger Lear. But somehow, Jeremy Corbell used a wackadoo true believer that saw aliens everywhere, just like him, as an expert on so-called alien implants. And if that sounds ridiculous to you, that's because it is. Now, with regards to implants, it's always been claimed somehow that these implants were put into people so that their ET abductors or benefactors could trace and track them somehow. But even Lear's removal of alleged implants has just shown these to be natural objects, such as ceramic-type materials, metals, or other foreign bodies that somehow made their way inside a human body. And by the way, this is not so uncommon or mysterious, but Jeremy Corbell made a whole film claiming that that was because of aliens. And even if that phenomenon is somewhat rare, people having a foreign body in them, so what? Just because a naturally forming substance or metal is found inside someone's body, it does not mean that aliens put it there. There has been zero definitive proof of any alien technology found inside anyone, including this patient 17, that would allow victims to be tracked. There has been zero scientific proof that any foreign body ever found inside someone was any form of alien technology, despite the numerous claims of wackadoos like a foot doctor. By the way, is he even qualified to do surgery and remove foreign objects from people? I'm not a doctor and I don't really know, but I would think that could possibly be problematic, that a foot doctor is just cutting people open, pulling things out of them and claiming that it's alien implants. If nothing else, it's incredibly shady. And most real journalists would run from a story like that, especially considering all of the problematic claims besides the alien implants. Did you know that? Roger Lear made all kinds of crazy wackadoo alien claims besides being a doctor helping alien abduction victims remove the implants so that they couldn't be tracked. It's totally wackadoo. And there's even a Wikipedia entry about Roger Lear, an important one, that notes, quote, at a MUFON conference in 1995, Lear examined x-rays from a woman who believed she was an alien abductee. He later extracted 2 small metallic foreign objects from her and also from a second patient. The objects were analyzed by New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology, which subsequently determined that they were composed of commonly found elements, such as iron or aluminum. In describing some of these elements, the lab report made reference to the composition of meteors. Lear interpreted this to mean that the objects removed from his patients were of extraterrestrial origin. And Dr. Roger Lear, the foot doctor wackadoo who believed in all kinds of alien stuff, he also came to believe that the objects were devices implanted by aliens, and that these implants, ordinary earthly metals, were somehow, quote, scientific proof of non-terrestrial experimentation on man. Now, we'll get into the more exotic claims made in Jeremy Corbell's garbage film. When someone claims that they have found carbon nanotubes or carbon microfibers or so-called metamaterials, This creates the impression of some form of technology. But if you actually study these things, if you follow the reference below, the references that I can provide about, quote, naturally produced carbon nanotubes, you will see that carbon nanotubes can also form naturally and are found in fluids, rocks, elements, metals all over Earth. But I suggest to you that this is where another interpretation of the alleged evidence occurs, and a spinning or twisting of what is found. In other words, these things occur in nature. They're not proof that of some sort of technological device inside someone. They occur in nature. And people make these fantastic claims. Oh, there's carbon nanotubes we put under a microscope. It's got to be alien implants. No. And before long, this garbage that people like Jeremy Corbell and a wackadoo foot scientist put out is somehow cited as real evidence that objects are being implanted by aliens. And these stories certainly get picked up by the media and film companies that want sensational films that they can sell stupid people, because this form of garbage journalism, clickbait, sensationalized garbage, sells very well. And, I could go on for, we were going to try to keep my presentation as brief as possible. So that's the first film. And let's go on to the second film, The Hunt for Skinwalker, which was based on, this film was based on George Knapp's book. And you remember that story. George Knapp claimed in his book that all the stories were based on mountains of evidence from years of collecting evidence. But in a Joe Rogan podcast, Mr. George Knapp, who this film is based on his book, Mr. George Knapp on an episode of Joe Rogan had to admit that he has no evidence for the stories, even though his book claims that there's evidence for these stories. So, after a while, you have to ask yourself, like, what's going on here? Like, these guys are putting out books and films claiming that their stories are based on reams of evidence. But then when confronted, when asked point blank, where's the evidence on a podcast with Joe Rogan, George Knapp has to essentially do a dance. We're like, there's really no evidence. Which is, it's kind of laughable that that's what we get. If the stories have evidence, I have no problem with people selling them. But when you get into this situation that we're in with these two guys, we quickly see that this is ridiculous. So I could spend an hour just on this film and the garbage job they did. And by the way, that's another hallmark of George Knapp, the garbage peddler. Every thumbnail I do with those guys going forward, both Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, I'm going to put them as garbage men, picking up aliens and throwing it into a garbage truck, because that's basically the visual equivalent. That's the best way to explain what they do. These are stories, often repeated stories, badly researched stories, but just, still stories. And of course, we get all the funny videos, courtesy of Stephen Greenstreet from the New York Post and the Basement Office. Here's one of George Knapp's stories. This is how ridiculous this shit gets.
She saw this standing on two legs, a wolf creature, a wolf standing in her yard, its paws crossed like this, leaning on a tree, staring back at her.
Sounds like a totally true story to me. Here's another one.
Come down this dirt road one night, and they see two figures, humanoid-looking figures, standing up with their backs to the road, and looked like they were smoking cigarettes. They had trench coats on, smoking cigarettes, standing out on the road. These guys figure, what are these fellas up to? So they're pulling up, and they shining their lights on the guys, and they turn around, and they were dogs.
So the stories are basically, somebody told me a story, so it must be true. Let's put it in the book and claim we have all kinds of evidence. Let's have my protege here, Jeremy Corbell, who is so fond of saying, my mentor, George Knapp, my mentor, George Knapp. You know what, George? You're to blame. You helped create this monster that is just shoveling bullshit into the world. Congratulations. You made this monster called Jeremy Corbell. You could, with your knowledge, and by the way, there are some things that George Knapp did great work on. So I know he's capable of good journalistic integrity and ethics. He just chooses the cheap and easy route because that's where he gets paid, right? He's got a young, hot wife. She loves money. You know, you gotta make sure you have plenty of money. If you're some old, kind of skeevy dude with a young, hot wife, what are you gonna do? You gotta make the UFO dollars then. So George Knapp could have mentored somebody the right way and taught them about things like standards of evidence, correcting your mistakes. By the way, they talk about correcting their mistakes. We're going to get into it all. I'm just getting started on these two clowns, right? So Knapp could have mentored Corbell to do things the right way. There were some stories about organized crime in the Las Vegas area that George Knapp nailed. He knocked some of those stories out of the park. He's capable of great work. But when it comes to UFOs and aliens, I think he just sees dollar signs. He gets blinded by it. So yeah, he mentored this clown Corbell, and he taught him exactly how you deceptively edit, leave out, information, do the lie by omission, pretend it's something mysterious, even if you're pretty sure you have a great idea what this probably is about. And so the Skinwalker story is filled with people telling stories. It's like modern mythology. We've got dino beavers, werewolves, smoking dogs, wolf creatures, and yes, UFOs, as well as poltergeists. It's a one-stop shop for mystery stories. So no wonder guys like this got into it. But the important part for everybody to realize is that Jeremy Corbell pretends that this is all true stories and they've got all this evidence. And George Knapp pretends they had all this evidence. He even put it in his book that the stories are based on years of collected evidence. But again, during a Joe Rogan podcast, and I missed this. This was pointed out to the great reporting of Stephen Greenstreet at the New York Post. Let's take a listen to George Knapp having to admit that all of his Skinwalker stories, and by extension, all Jeremy Corbell's Skinwalker stories, have no evidence.
But no evidence of any kind to back up any of these stories has ever been presented. George Knapp, who's built an entire career around stories of UFOs and the paranormal, and who was one of the authors of the Hunt for the Skinwalker book, was asked about evidence on the Joe Rogan show.
Because they weren't there with cameras. Is there any evidence? Like for the first 20 months when the rancher is there, they don't have any evidence because he's not a paranormal investigator.
At this point, Knapp begins telling more stories about UFOs on and near the ranch. Rogan then interrupts and asks again.
Is there any evidence? No, not really.
Oh.
If you're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, and they don't have it.
Oh. Knapp saying there's no proof or evidence is quite strange, considering the book Knapp co-authored says this: "We obtained an intriguing body of physical evidence to support many of the accounts described in the book." Okay, so where is that intriguing body of physical evidence?
It doesn't exist. It's been a long time since Mr. Greenstreet sort of exposed this shady story for what it really is, which is essentially somebody told me some stories. And, it gets worse from here. Now, of course, the story that I am most knowledgeable about that Jeremy Corbell cashed in on, by the way, just want to put it on the record. I was in communication with Jeremy Corbell. I forgave him the other garbage documentaries. He promised me he was going to produce all this evidence to prove the Bob Lazar story was true. And at that point, I was still on the fence. I had come up with a great deal of evidence that Bob Lazar was a convicted pimp and a liar and had a fake education. He wasn't a real scientist. So, and by the way, I still have those messages, Jeremy. So don't deny what I'm about to say. I asked Jeremy, you know, no scientist on planet Earth or, you know, anybody that gets a master's degree can't find their thesis. So ask Bob Lazar where his thesis is. And he promised me that he would do that. You know what was left out of the Bob Lazar film? Any mention of Bob Lazar's thesis. Nobody can find them. Do you know why? Because Bob Lazar is a fake scientist, convicted pimp who was bankrupt at the time or around the time that he came out with his fantastic story of working at Area 51. And I don't want to spend too much time here. I could talk to you, and those familiar with my show know I have spoken for hours and hours and hours ad nauseum about the Bob Lazar lie. After all, again, Bob Lazar is a convicted pimp, fake scientist. He lied about being a real scientist. He lied about his education. He lied about being a scientist at Los Alamos. He lied about being on Janet airline flights into and out of Area 51. And we broke, well, with the help of Victor Caliero, who did an excellent interview with an on-the-record source that worked at Area 51 that we can verify. Bob Lazar never stepped foot on the Janet Airlines. He never stepped foot on Area 51 because there's logs. And a verified real source who worked there at the time checked, no Bob Lazar. He even called George Knapp and said, you may want to be careful with this guy claiming that he flew in and out of Area 51. I'm a security guard at Area 51. Here's my CV. Here's all my credentials. You can verify I really worked there. Bob Lazar never stepped foot on the Janet Airlines. Now, I know people get mad at me. Oh, he never said he worked at Area 51. He worked at S4. S4 doesn't exist. And that same on-the-record source verified that there's nothing at the mythical S4 site. And that was right at the time that George Knapp first broadcast the story of Bob Lazar in 1989, right? So I guess the government just disappeared an entire base with 9 hangar bay doors built into the side of a mountain, just disappeared all those roads and guard shacks and everything that Bob Lazar described. He lied. Bob Lazar lied about being on Janet airline flights into and out of Area 51. So let's be clear. Bob Lazar never stepped foot on Area 51. And he claimed that he got on Janet Airlines. He flew into Area 51 and then they bussed him, what was it, 10 miles to the mythical S4 site. And by the way, in a bus where there's no roads, you try taking a bus through 10 miles of desert with no roads. Let me know how far you get. The whole story falls apart under scrutiny. And the major problem I had, even though I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, the major problem that I have with George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell is they do the lie by omission. They leave out all the information that we share freely here. And by the way, in the description of this video is an exhaustive list of sources that proves that the whole Bob Lazar story is one big lie after another lie. The only reason it works is because the people selling you the story lie to you and they leave out all of the information that proves that Bob Lazar was a fraud and a liar. So just to summarize, this man lied about everything. He lied about his eligibility to even get clearance to ever step foot on Area 51. And a brilliant researcher named Signals Intelligence, cited in the description of this video, found out a great deal of information. First of all being that Bob Lazar lied about being a scientist at Los Alamos. Yes, he worked there. He was a low-level electronics technician, which would be appropriate considering his only education was one electronics course at a local community college. Bob Lazar lied about being a scientist. Every time you see anybody use the term former government scientist when talking about Bob Lazar. They're already lying to you. There's zero evidence or proof that Bob Lazar worked for the government. There's zero evidence or proof that Bob Lazar was ever a scientist, but there is overwhelming evidence and proof that he lied about being a scientist. There is overwhelming evidence and proof that he lied about his entire education, or almost all of it. And here's another point. Bob Lazar could never have gotten admitted to MIT or to Caltech, because in court documents that we showed here on previous episodes here, he said his undergraduate degree came from Pacifica University, which was a fake degree mill. You know, one of those places you just buy a degree. Are we supposed to believe that prestigious organizations like Caltech and MIT don't check on someone's undergraduate degree before allowing them into a master's degree program? Now, I know that Bob Lazar and his supporters always have some kind of excuse for why, the government covered it up. That story falls apart. Because Michael Schratt, excellent researcher, he went and got all the yearbooks from Caltech and MIT for a period, I think, of 5 years, a window where Bob Lazar claimed to be at those schools. No mention of Bob Lazar anywhere in any of those yearbooks, which would mean if the government cover-up story was true, then the men in black would have had to crawl into every dusty basement, dusty attic, garage, storage space, whatever, steal out all those yearbooks, sanitize them of any mention of Bob Lazar, and then put them back in everybody's houses. No, the story falls apart. His education was fake. So he lied about being a real scientist, lied about his education, lied about being a scientist at Los Alamos. Researchers found his original supervisors at Los Alamos. Multiple of them confirmed that Bob Lazar was never a physicist, let alone a senior staff level physicist. The story falls apart. Why didn't George Knapp give you any of that information? Why didn't he interview Bob Lazar's supervisors at Los Alamos? Why didn't Jeremy Corbell interview those people? Other people were able to find them and confirm that Bob Lazar lied about his education, lied about being a scientist. Why did these people leave that out of the story? Well, maybe, just maybe, they did it on purpose. The lie by omission. It's how many of these mystery stories work. Now, also, Signals Intelligence was also able to determine that Bob Lazar's wife at the time was a convicted murderer with super strong ties to organized crime. And the murder she took place in was also the other people convicted were Hell's Angels, who she had strong ties and associations with. In 1989, it was the height of the Cold War. Do you mean to tell me that the government, I get the government is corrupt, I get that the government is incompetent, but go ask anybody that actually worked on secret government projects if you could get clearances to work on secret government projects or ever step foot on a Janet airline flight or Area 51 when you have a convicted murderer wife with strong ties to organized crime, and you're having massive financial problems, and your claimed educational credentials are all completely fake. The W-2 is fake. There's problems throughout this entire story. Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, of course, don't tell you about Bob Lazar lying about his finances and all his financial problems and his convicted murderer wife that had strong ties to organized crime, which would preclude him from any kind of a clearance to work on anything for the government. They don't want somebody with organized crime ties. They don't want somebody with criminal history as a spouse. They don't want somebody with financial problems. It was the height of the Cold War. And they're always on the lookout for people that would be tempted to spill secrets to the Soviets or the Chinese or our adversaries when they're having financial problems or when they have a history of being involved in shady criminal activity. And certainly no one can argue that Bob Lazar had massive financial problems at the time, and his wife was a convicted murderer. His education is fake. The story falls apart. And also, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, in this film, they lie about the real reason for the latest FBI raid on Bob Lazar's business. And we talked to the sheriff of the town in which Bob Lazar's business was and the FBI agents who were in on that raid. All of them confirmed. Some of them said, I didn't even know this guy, anything about this guy in Area 51 or his flying saucer nonsense. They were there for a routine investigation. And I hate that I'm going to have to do this again because I always confuse the two. There's two chemicals. It's either thorium or thallium, which is a dangerous chemical, actually, that Bob Lazar's business was selling at one time. And apparently or allegedly, I'm going to have to refresh myself on that case, somebody ordered that from his business, and it may have been used in a murder. And so the FBI and the local sheriff went to Bob Lazar's business to get the sales records. That's why they were there. And George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell lied, saying there was 40 plus people and this oppressive feds and all these people there for this raid, and they were there all day. No, they were in and out in less than an hour. And as I previously reported, there was 10 or 11 people there. And yes, somebody did go in and there was a hazmat people there, but they were there to ensure the safety of the officers. Because after all, Bob Lazar sells dangerous chemicals. And he also is, I've been told, and it has been alleged, he is one of the United States' largest suppliers of glassware. You know who uses glassware? Meth labs. Nothing says credible government whistleblower like a guy selling glassware, right? And a guy selling dangerous chemicals, some of which may have been used in a murder. So the twisting of reality in order to make this story, oh, the FBI raided them. It must be because they're looking for that element 115, right? The element 115, the mythical flying saucer fuel that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell claim they know where it is, and that Bob Lazar still has some. So we're supposed to believe, after all these lies, that they could have the smoking gun evidence and proof of alien visitation on Earth, but they can't show it to us for whatever reason. That's another part of how these stories work. It's the big bluff. And here's George Knapp claiming he knows exactly where the smoking gun evidence and proof of the Bob Lazar story is, but he can't show it to us.
What folks are doing, and anti-gravity propulsion is something they want very badly. Bob said that the key to it was this element 115. He had a piece of it. I saw it. In fact, he had a little experiment they did with what's called a cloud chamber, where they had, it looked to me like light. They had a piece of this 115 in this chamber. They put some smoke in it, and it seemed, and then had a beam of light through it, and the light bent. Bob, at one point, when he thought he was going to die, had this piece of 115 in a, it was in a lead casing, in a disc-shaped casing, and he had it in front of a particle accelerator at his house, and he had the accelerator on, and all he had to do was flip a button. If this stuff was real, as he described it, flipping that button would hit it with, I don't know, it's protons or electrons, whatever it was, that would make it explode, an annihilation that would have left a great big hole in Las Vegas. And he had that piece. I saw the experiment. What happened to it, that's a story for another time. It's in a spot now where nobody could get to it, but it's still there. One of these days, maybe after Bob's gone, I'll go dig it up.
Great. So he has the smoking gun evidence or proof that would 100% prove that Bob Lazar's story is real, but somehow he can't give it to us. No, that's called the big bluff, right? And by the way, George Knapp, I got money for a goddamn plane ticket, and I got some shovels. I will personally come with you and dig that up if it exists. So far, George Knapp won't return my calls. I even try to send him pictures and stuff. Like I got like a spelunking kit, and I got like a little pickaxe and some shovels and stuff. We'll make a day of it. We'll have some cocktails, and we'll dig up the smoking gun evidence and proof that Bob Lazar's not a liar. George Knapp, why would you not want to do that? Why would you not want to prove all these debunkers and naysayers and noisy negatives? Why would you not want to prove us all wrong and shut us all up? But you never do, and they never will. Here's another point. Jeremy Corbell was the only person in history ever given the kind of access he was given. He got to interview Bob Lazar's mother, Bob Lazar's sister, Why wouldn't you ask them if they attended Bob Lazar's MIT graduation? Why wouldn't you ask them if they attended his Caltech graduation? Seemed to be an important part of Bob's life, getting a master's degree at those schools. Surely his mother and his sister would have attended those schools, but he didn't. And by the way, someday I'll find the clip again on a podcast. He got so pissed because I made this point. How do you know what I asked them? Well, then why didn't you put it in the film? Could it be because they never went to his Caltech graduation? They never went to his MIT graduation because he never went to those schools. The Bob Lazar lie falls apart under scrutiny. What we've got is, and by the way, here's another distinction between me and clowns that sell these fake stories. We have on the record named sources. We have their names. We verify who they were. Signals Intelligence did a great job talking to Bob Lazar's Los Alamos supervisors. All of them said he lied about being a scientist there. And those are on the record real sources that anybody can go check in with. We have an on the record real Area 51 security guard who's named, and we know he was an Area 51 security guard because he's named in court documents. He was one of the people suing the government for those Area 51 burn pits. We know he's a real source. We have real sources to show you that Bob Lazar lies and lies and lies and lies and lies. And what they do is the bluff. How many times have we heard Knapp or Corbell say, well, I've verified parts of Bob's story with people that really worked at Area 51. Well, then put their names out. Put up or shut up, right? I'm not going to get into a pissing match with people with a bunch of anonymous sources that keep getting caught lying over and over and over and over and over again. Keep getting caught doing the Cosmic Con shuffle and the swindle act here. It's ridiculous. Real sources trump all of their fake sources that they won't name. There's a reason they won't name them, because it's a bluff. If they had on the record real Area 51 people that would verify parts of Bob's story, you don't think that they would put them in front of a camera and capture that, prove all these naysayers wrong? The Bob Lazar story falls apart. Here's another one for you. Jeremy Corbell keeps getting caught lying about Bob Lazar. And in an appearance with Stanton Friedman, may he rest in peace, Jeremy Corbell, claimed that Bob Lazar must be a real scientist because he has science contracts with the United States Navy. And John from the Black Vault did a FOIA request. God bless John from the Black Vault. And now we know that was a lie. No contracts. Bob Lazar has no contracts that Jeremy Corbell claimed. And just to try to wrap up this Bob Lazar story, right? Why does Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp never address all of the things I've shared with you? By the way, the sources of which are all in the description of my video. They're all on the record, real verifiable sources. We're not bluffing. We're not using anonymous sources, right? Why don't they go through each of these points and prove me wrong? Why don't they address getting caught lying about Bob Lazar having Navy contracts? Why don't they address my on-the-record sources which refute the fake story they told about the FBI raid? Why don't they refute Signals Intelligence and all those supervisors at Los Alamos that say Bob Lazar lied about being a scientist? Why don't they refute the people at MIT or the yearbooks or the educational claims? To be fair, George Knapp all but admits that Bob Lazar lied about his education. But Corbell always just plays it off like, oh, well, maybe he lied. You know, they ever lie to get a job or to get a girl, right? If the man, Bob Lazar, would lie to you about something ordinary and earthly, you know, something like where he went to school or being a scientist at a prestigious lab that he never was, then why on earth would you believe that he would tell you the truth about aliens and UFOs? A liar is a liar is a liar. How many times do we have to prove that Bob Lazar lied before the story falls apart, even for people that want to believe? And just to put it on the record, people know this about me. This is the story that got me stuck in the UFO and aliens rabbit hole. Had an experience of my own as a child. And then shortly after my experience, I think it was a few years after that, Bob Lazar hit the scene, and I took it as confirmation. It's all true. The government has scientists, and the government's working on alien technology, and maybe what I saw was alien technology. No, maybe what I saw was simply something that I couldn't explain, and I would love to believe it was an alien spacecraft, but I live in the world of reality, right? And reality comes with facts and evidence, and this is what we don't get from these two. Instead, what we get is they purposefully lied to everyone. Why didn't they tell you all these things that I'm telling you tonight in their films or in their various for-profit driven pieces promoting the Bob Lazar lies? Why don't they tell you that? And by the way, we've talked about this on our show before with Bob Kiviat, who was the producer of was the producer of the Alien Autopsy Fox special. And he commented on the fact that he went out of his way to get skeptical people to look at that film. I have no problem with people doing it the right way, which is to tell the whole story. But when you purposefully, deceptively construct a narrative and you throw a whole lot of evidence out in order to sell the mystery, you're not being genuine. You're not a real journalist. You're not a real researcher. You are a garbage peddler. And that's what these two are, and that's what they did. And I will openly debate any of them on any podcast, in any platform, anywhere. They won't do it because they're intellectual weaklings and cowards, and they know they've been caught selling a lie. In the case of George Knapp, he's been selling a lie for 30 plus years. How many years is Jeremy Corbell going to sell the Bob Lazar lie? Oh, Bob Lazar makes an appearance in his new docu-series, right? Like, oh, here's a convicted pimp fake scientist telling me how to get to the truth about aliens and UFOs. Great, Jeremy Corbell. You're talking to a convicted pimp fake scientist who never was a real scientist, who never stepped foot on the Janet Airlines like he claimed, who never stepped foot on Area 51 like he claimed, who could never have gotten clearance to work at Area 51 or anywhere near it based on his personal history. That's your expert in your docu-series. You see, my friends, once we remove from them the ability to do the lie by omission, once we remove from them their ability to deceptively edit, that's what it is. Let's say this, we've got two sides to the story, right? And one of them is this guy may be telling the truth. That's the side they give you. All of this over here, which I have just tried my best to quickly run through, I could do this for 3 hours about Bob Lazar. But all of this evidence over here that proves that Bob Lazar was a convicted pimp, fake scientist who lied about his education, who lied about being a scientist at Los Alamos, who conveniently didn't tell anybody he was bankrupt and having major financial problems at the time he came out with the story, right? All of this evidence, the evidence that Bob Lazar got all of the Billy Meyer material from John Lear right before he came out with the story, and his spaceship just happens to look exactly like Billy Meyer's beam ship, right? All of this evidence, they just throw it. They throw it to the side, and they just give you this. If they won't give you the whole story, they are not being honest with you. I've done my best to be honest about the Bob Lazar story. They never will. All right. I did my best with this one. We want to take a moment to recognize and thank the live chat. We've got an incredible audience here tonight, and we'll take a moment to recognize, for those unaware, I haven't been playing the begging bumpers because honestly, I don't like interrupting the show so much, but for those unaware, we read every single super chat. We thank every single person that sends support to us, whether you become a Patreon supporter, if you become a channel member during the live broadcast, we give you a shout out and a thank you. If you send a super chat, we read every single one. So just be aware of that. And we thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. We've got Gunslinger with a kind and generous $6.99 Canadian, says Bob worked on the DT60 dose meter. So have I, and it's very basic skill, taking 12 seconds of training. no physics. You said physicalcs. I think you mean physics required. Yeah, thank you. And Gunslinger throwing in an extra. No physics required is what I meant. Well, thanks, and we appreciate the extra couple of bucks. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We've got Keith Gardeck, who says, Spaceman, you have to do a show exclusively on Peter Levenda, a genuine master of bullshito. Yeah. And what people don't realize is that Peter Levenda, he's the one who faked the Necronomicon. Did you know that in the 80s, the Necronomicon got big, largely due to H.P. Lovecraft's resurgence because of Metallica writing albums about, Call of Cthulhu, Master of Puppets, all that was about H.P. Lovecraft stories. So everybody's running around wondering if the Necronomicon stories are real and true. Suddenly, Peter Levenda finds a manuscript, and he made a lot of money selling I believe, a completely and totally fake book based on nonsense. But it is what it is, right? We thank you, both of you guys, for your kindness, your generosity, and support. Thanks to both of you for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you, Gunslinger, and thank you, Keith Gardeck. And we thank you, 16th Doc. There's another one for $5 saying, I appreciate all you do. I'm fairly new, but I'm glad I found your channel. Well, I'm glad that you found our channel too. We thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And we're lucky to have so many new people finding us. Please, if you know somebody that kind of got stuck down this rabbit hole, send them our channel because they might enjoy somebody offering them a ladder to climb out. And we try to do this every night of the week, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for all of your kindness, generosity, and support, all of you. And you Patreon supporters, you Twitch subscribers, YouTube channel members, super sticker people, super thanks, PayPal pledgers. We read every single PayPal pledge as well. We thank you all for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, 16th Doc, new participant in the live chat. We want to take a moment to recognize the live chat. We've got quite an audience here tonight. I'm seeing great numbers. Glad to see the good attendance. So next we're going to get into the videos. But before we do that, I got some things that we have to share. So I'm trying to purge myself of all of the thoughts and feelings that I have about these, mostly Jeremy Corbell, but you got Knapp in the mix as well. So for those unaware, the so-called Jellyfish UFO, which has been debunked as most likely balloons by real experts, who, by the way, have been right a lot. How many times has George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell been right? Almost never, right? But it is what it is. So one thing I want to make the point about the money situation again. We're going to do this one more time. 1 second. So in the latest docuseries, we just detailed for you 3 films that Jeremy Corbell produced, most of which are garbage, and the information in them is garbage, and they only work by all the methods we've already described. Won't belabor the point. So I found this in his new docuseries, and this is my favorite clip from his docuseries. And I simply wrote, Jeremy Corbell claims he and George Knapp don't get paid to work on UFOs. Yes, he said that. A man with a 3 UFO-related documentary film deal with Orchard on all streaming sites, with a monetized UFO podcast, with money deals with TMZ, News Nation, and more, is saying in his own docuseries that he doesn't get paid for UFOs. And we also have to remember that it has been alleged that in the docuseries, he gets out of $135,000 SUV, somebody said? And by the way, I haven't verified that, but that's just the rumors. So take that as rumors and speculation. Also rumors and speculation is that he wears a $50,000 to $75,000 rare, very expensive watch. And he's going to claim that he doesn't get paid for UFOs as he's walking by a homeless man. You got to love it.
You know, George and I, we work on this every damn day. And this is not a job that we get paid for. I actually have a real job. You know, George and I.
He doesn't get paid. He's saying he doesn't get paid.
Every damn day. And this is not a job that we get paid for. I actually have.
Gotta love the homeless guy, right? Maybe you could have given him your watch and he could have, had a place to live for the next 3 years in low cost housing. Not that kind of a person, though. I'm guessing. He's really not, big on charity. His favorite charity is himself. And come on, the guy's buying $1.8 million properties or $1 million properties, right? And he's got his expensive SUV, expensive watch. He's got film deals, a monetized UFO podcast, and money deals with TMZ, money deals with News Nation, right? But you and George Knapp don't get paid? I think they should at least address this part, right? That's a completely and totally factually inaccurate statement. You just lied through your teeth, Jeremy Corbell. And if you're willing to lie about this, what else is he willing to lie about to keep those dollars rolling in? All right. And on the subject of getting caught lying, we've got a lot more for you, Jeremy. And by the way, this isn't the end, Jeremy. After tonight, I've got even more for you. Got a lot for you, Jeremy. Got a lot more for you. So interestingly, I think that the tides really are turning, and a lot of people are getting sick of Jeremy Corbell making all this money selling less than credible stories. And, at some point you have to realize, I'll give everybody one or two mistakes, right? Like maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you didn't do enough fact checking, right? But even in his own podcast, he gets caught lying all the time. I forgot to add some of these things to the description. I will add them. I want to thank @Deadmunk, DEDMUNK, who clipped this together. Like I said, hey, Jeremy, your run of being able to do this is over. So you better enjoy that $1 million property and that $100,000 SUV and that expensive watch, because the UFO gravy train is over for you, bro. You're going to have to come with some evidence or get the hell out of here. People have had enough of it, and they're sick of you profiting and you lying through your teeth all the time. How many times we got to show you Jeremy Corbell lying to us? He lied about Bob Lazar having Navy contracts. He lied about the FBI raid of Bob Lazar's compound, right? His business. He lied about not getting paid for UFOs, and here he is lying again. Oh, and we showed at the beginning of the broadcast him lying, saying that the United States government has shot down UAPs as recently as last Friday. Well, if that's not a lie, then it's a completely and totally factually inaccurate, unproven story. But that's what we get from Jeremy Corbell. He is a master of deceptive editing and really the big bluff. Even his own guests contradict his statements.
I'm going to use the wrong word, but like the base commander, one of the top dogs, not only rolls up with two armed Marines that were coming to confiscate the footage.
So Jeremy Corbell is claiming that the Jellyfish UFO footage was confiscated by the Marines. And Jeremy, are you this stupid? Like, I get that you have to bluff to make your fake stories work, but maybe you should think about the bluffs and how ridiculous they sound, because I'm going to the media spokesperson for the United States Marines, and I've got the date and time generally of the sighting. We're going to fact check you on this, but we don't really need to fact check you on this because you've also said the feeds got shut down. This was all covered up, and your own guest contradiction.
And they confiscated the footage. They did not sign it out.
He's saying that that armed people came, like the men in black, right? This is what he has to do. He has to bluff. He has to drama the fake story up. If the story is really just like, hey, there's a video, we're not really sure what it is. It's probably balloons. We couldn't really identify it, but it's going with the same speed and direction of the wind, so it's probably balloons. That won't sell. You know what will sell? The men in black came and confiscated the footage. Well, if the men in black came and confiscated the footage, then how did your own podcast guest get to see the footage after they confiscated it? He doesn't even think through the lies he tells.
This has never happened before. This has never happened before. They're like, no, we're not signing it out. This never happened. You may never talk about it. The next day, everybody involved, and even if they weren't involved, they were questioned. They had to sign specific NDAs for that event. Now, remember, they already signed NDAs just to be there. These are our top dog intelligence officers. So they cut off the feeds. They can't see it on night vision. They roll up with armed guards. They confiscate the footage, the original footage. They confiscate it.
So if they confiscated the original footage, then wouldn't it end up in some, pardon the pun, John Greenwald, wouldn't it end up in some black vault and nobody would ever see it and you wouldn't be able to make money off of it? But other people have seen that footage. How did they see it if your men in black confiscated it? None of this makes any sense unless you realize that he just bluffed and made this whole story up to help sell his fake nonsense.
And they have everybody sign NDAs for this singular event. Now, that has never happened.
All I know is I believe it was about 3 recordings that I had saved on my workstation.
So how did this guy get 3 recordings on his workstation that he saved if the men in black came and confiscated all the footage and all the feeds were shut down and multiple countries were involved and this never happened before? He's trying to turn ordinary events into something extraordinary. That's how you sell a fake story, my friends.
On the server there.
On the server.
When I was shown the video, it was more of just a, cool video that's saved on the system, something that happened months ago. They did
saved on the system, something that happened months ago. Well, that directly contradicts what Jeremy Corbell claimed. He claimed the men in black came with armed guards and confiscated all the footage. Well, then how did this guy see it on the servers? Wouldn't they have taken it off the servers, Jeremy? Your own bullshit doesn't make any sense. At least write it out before you bluff. You got to come up with some better bluffs, Mr. Clown. And great video. I'm going to follow this guy on Twitter. I think he did a great job catching this. And by the way, I just want to say that it's plural here. Truth seekers. And we employ the help and use of fellow truth seekers around the world. It takes an army. There is a principle which basically says that the amount of energy you need to expend to dispel bullshit is orders of magnitude more than it takes to create it. How easy was it for Jeremy Corbell to just lie through his teeth, make up a fake story, right? It's difficult to dispel the BS. But this Twitter user did, and I'm glad to be able to share that here with my audience. Thank you very much. So now we're going to get into the videos that they have released. And but before we do that, I've got something else fun to share. Because Jeremy Corbell are doubling, they always do this. They double and triple down for as long as they can, trying to keep their fake story rolling and the cash rolling in. And they only admit it when they absolutely have to, as in the case of the 29 Palms flare story, right? Eventually, the evidence was too overwhelming. And they had to admit it was flares, right? And here's another issue. Jeremy Corbell claims that they had this footage for 3 years. How do they have this footage for 3 years and get everything wrong? The object went underwater for 17 minutes. That wasn't in the footage. There's no proof or evidence of that. Though Jeremy Corbell was very skillful at sort of manipulating a witness to saying, well, there could be another video. We don't know. Came out of the water and did 90-degree turns. Still no evidence of that. The footage was taken by an intelligence agency and buried. That's what Corbell and this is all Corbell's original reporting on the event. And the whole story falls apart. How could this guy be doing 3 years of research and get all these facts so incredibly wrong, right? The object in the video changes temperature. That's been proven to be completely and totally false. And also, Jeremy Corbell lies through his teeth. In his original reporting, he said that the object was filmed from a weapons platform. I'm going to say that again. In his original reporting, Jeremy Corbell claimed that the object was filmed both by an intelligence agency, which is not correct, and by a weapons platform. that is completely and totally factually inaccurate, because we know now that the object was filmed from an aerostat. I'm going to show you what an aerostat is, just for the benefit of anybody that may be unfamiliar. That's an aerostat. It's basically a lighter than aircraft with an MX-20 camera on it and some sensors, and they fly it up over an active operations zone, and it's used for threat identification. Here we have an aerostat. A lighter than air aircraft that gains its lift through the use of buoyant gas. Aerostats include unpowered balloons and unpowered airships. This aerostat, friends, that's not a weapons platform. So he got that completely and totally wrong. But don't worry, now he's doubling down and claiming that he didn't say what it was filmed from. Yes, you did. It's in your original reporting, right? And of course, we get all these other unproven claims. Could not be seen with the naked eye, just on IR film. Well, could it be that it was 1,000 feet up and at night, and maybe people with the IR scopes, with the night vision scopes, were looking in the wrong place and just didn't know where to look or see it? There were a couple of nations involved. Feeds were shut down. The object had scale light armor on it. Could not be detected or seen with night vision. All of these are unproven claims. And considering how wrong he got all of these other, points of fact, he provided all of these points on my graphic here as facts in his story. Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them completely and totally wrong. How much of the rest of these, 1, 2, 3, 4 more, did he get wrong? How many times is this guy going to do a trust me, bro? This is what I call it. Trust me, bro claims, right? This is the bluff, the extra goodies that he tacks on to an ordinary event to make it something extraordinary, like his Men in Black story that also falls apart. It all falls apart under scrutiny. This guy is terrible at this. Why is he making millions of dollars is beyond me. I don't know. So we're going to get into we're going to do them in reverse order of debunk. So 3 of the videos that he put out as basically alien spaceships or craft weren't what he claimed they were. And that can be proven. And so we're going to cite fair use once again. And we're going to play you another clip from their monetized podcast. It's called Weaponized, but I call it monetized. Monetize your curiosity. You too can buy $1.8 million properties with your UFO cash if you're just willing to lie through your teeth and pretend everything that people send you is somehow a goddamn alien spacecraft. Here we go.
It's balloons. Now, we considered balloons, right? When we first saw that, maybe it's balloons. Why isn't it balloons? What do you think?
Yeah. So look, so just to be clear, we don't know what this is. Neither does our.
This is them trying to weasel out of Mick West's excellent debunked. By the way, what is he? 3 for 3, 4 for 4? I forget how many of their garbage fake UFOs have been debunked. You know, we had the Batman balloon, we had the drones that Jeremy Corbell said were pyramid spaceships. We had the flares that Jeremy Corbell said was a giant triangle craft, extraordinary craft, of course. We have the Jellyfish now, which, you know, if it's going in the direction and speed of the wind in its flight path, it's a pretty good guess. That's probably balloons. It's better to be cautious and say it's more likely than not balloons than to jump right to alien spaceships. But that's not what sells. They need it to be alien spaceships in order to sell it. Balloons don't really sell quite as well or at all compared to alien spaceships.
Our government, they labeled it UAP unknown. So we don't know. They don't know. We're looking for answers. Everybody's looking for answers. Every source we have, every person that we know that was there, that's seen the footage, everybody's looking for answers.
Yeah, and here's another part of the bluff. They have all these sources that they've gathered over 3 years before they did this story. If they were working on this story for 3 years, how did they get all those facts wrong that I showed you earlier? They got everything wrong about the story. You worked on this for 3 years, and now he's going to claim they have all these other sources. And by the way, he's done this before. In the case of the flare story, He claimed they had all these witnesses that say it could be flares. It's definitely not flares. It could be flares, but we never heard from them. Was that a bluff? Is this right here a bluff? He's got all these sources that don't know what that object is.
So that's what we're really doing here. I do want to make a correction, and I want to explain the correction. He even got the date of the original sighting completely and totally wrong. Now he's going to act like, well, that was just an honest mistake. I wrote down the wrong number. No, you screwed that up too, man. I'm alone. I don't have an army of people. Well, apparently you have millions of dollars. Why don't you hire a staff since you're so piss poor at doing research, dude? Hire somebody so that you don't keep looking like the clown of the UFO world. Every time you put out a story, it gets debunked as not what you said it is in days. I'm typing shit out. I'm looking at my notes of the last 3.5 years. We have that. He's been investigating this story for 3.5 years. Then how did you get so many of the principal facts of the story wrong? You said it was filmed by an intelligence agency. You said it was filmed from a weapons platform. You said all of these things, including the date and time of the sighting, that you got completely and totally wrong. How did you investigate this story for 3.5 years and get all of those important, some would say pivotal facts of the case completely and totally wrong? Witnesses that have seen it for many years. And here's the bluff. Oh, we've got all these witnesses that saw this for many years, multiple locations at multiple times. Great. Where are they at? Interview them. Can I interview them? Or do they not exist? He could very well be bluffing. And given Jeremy Corbell's proven track record of lying to audiences, I don't trust him when he says he has all these sources until I speak to them and verify those sources even exist. Now, to be clear, I'm not accusing him of inventing sources, but he has done this before in the case of the 29 Palms flare story. He said he had all these witnesses that would testify that it couldn't be flares, and then we never heard from them. Is this a prover maneuver? Is this a big bluff? I think so. And that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. You can't trust a guy that keeps getting caught lying to his teeth. The guy can't even tell the truth about getting paid for UFOs. In his own docuseries, he's lying, saying he doesn't get paid. I don't trust this proven liar when he says he has all these sources that dispute what the noisy negative debunkers are saying. Because this thing has been the ghost story, the spaghetti monster, at the base. So as I'm cumulatively going through it. Oh yeah, he got that wrong. It wasn't called the Jellyfish UFO by any of the people who saw it. It was called the spaghetti monster. Another fact he got wrong. Everything, because it's not one source. It's not one time we were sent this video, or these videos. So what's happened? But wait a minute. How are multiple people here? Let's tie it back to what he got caught lying about earlier. How are multiple people sending him a video that the Men in Black came and confiscated? He can't even keep his own lies straight. You already lied and said the Men in Black confiscated the video and made everybody sign NDAs. So what? Everybody's risking their career and criminal prosecution to send you copies of a video that you say the Men in Black came and confiscated already? Where did all these people get that video if the Men in Black came with armed guards and confiscated it? Just a little bit of logic, and Jeremy Corbell's fakeness falls apart under scrutiny. I'm getting to the point where, it's like that old saying, how do you know when Jeremy Corbell is lying to you? His lips are moving. Happened is, I think I said it was 2018 on the YouTube release, like raw. What I meant is that's raw to us. Like that's how we received the footage, exactly like you're seeing on the screen, except for the title. But I said 2018 because some people saw it in 2018, some people saw it in 2019, 2021, 2020. Great. Look at this. All these people saw this video. How did they all see it if the Men in Black confiscated it with armed guards and made everybody sign NDAs? How come everybody's seeing this video that you said was shut down and the feed shut down and the Men in Black came and they confiscated it? How are people seeing it for years after the Men in Black confiscated it? If you think none of this shit makes any sense, you're right. And this, my friends, is the indication
that Jeremy Corbell is lying to you, or at least not being honest about the story.
2022, but I think it was actually filmed in 2017. It was October, probably between the dates of the 17th and the 20th. Not sure. So I don't want to report for sure I know something. So that is my flaw in that.
Well, he reported for sure that he knew it was filmed by a weapons platform. He reported for sure that the Men in Black came with Marine armed guards and confiscated all the footage. You know, this doublespeak is ridiculous. It is comical at this point. Like, how many times are we going to catch him lying in one broadcast? I don't know. I've lost track here. You know, it's just getting to the point of comic relief here.
All the sources we have cumulatively without editors and sleep deprived. Yeah, I put an 8 instead of a 7. Sorry.
Yeah, so he routinely will do this. He'll cop to one little tiny factual error, but he doesn't address all the other factual errors. And also, if you've got all these sources, why don't you interview them and ask them, how did they see footage that was confiscated by the Men in Black with Marine armed guards and everybody had to sign an NDA? If you violate an NDA, your career is over. You could be criminally prosecuted. But he said in 2017, 2018, 2019, people saw this video. 2019, 2020, and people sent us this video. In 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, all these people for years after the Men in Black confiscated it, they all saw this video. They sent it to us. So I got confused. I think you're getting confused because you're a liar. Liars often get confused. They have trouble keeping their lies straight. And that's the problem that Corbell is facing right now. The liar cannot keep track of, they lie so much, they can't keep track of all their lies. None of this makes any sense. How are people sending them the videos for years after they got confiscated? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's correcting it is what journalists are supposed to do. You make a mistake on it, you correct it, and we've done that. So
yeah, oh, that's what journalists are supposed to do. If you make a mistake, you correct it. Well, what about all the other mistakes that you never corrected? You corrected getting the date wrong, but you did not correct saying that it was filmed from a weapons platform. You didn't correct saying that it was filmed from a weapons platform, that it was taken by an intelligence agency and then buried, that the object changed its temperature. You still haven't admitted to that. You're not correcting the record. And by the way, if George Knapp wants to pretend that they're good journalists and they correct things when they get it wrong, well, then why don't they address all the Bob Lazar discrepancies and problems? We've got on the record sources. They're all in the description of the video. Why don't you correct the record on Bob Lazar lying about being a scientist, lying about working at Los Alamos as a scientist, lying about getting on Janet Airlines? Why are you only correcting the record, you know, when it's some little factoid that you know the true believers will let you get away with? I know what I believe.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. We now know for sure because of the reaction to the TMZ program and hopefully some of the interviews that you've done on other media, that there were other witnesses. We knew that before. We had talked to a lot of witnesses.
One other known witness. The rest have not been named or been public. So all this talk of all these witnesses could very well be just another Corbell Knapp bluff. They do it a lot. For 30 years now, Knapp has been saying that parts of Bob Lazar's story were verified to me by verified people that worked at Area 51. He's never named any of them.
But now some of them have come forward to buttress the legitimacy of the case. We know also about the platform. So we didn't say in that recording what the platform was, but it's an aerostat, right?
They said it was a weapons platform. Somebody find me the clip and put it in the Discord of Jeremy Corbell saying that it was filmed from a weapons platform. Here, George Knapp is either misinformed or uninformed, or he's lying. Jeremy Corbell in his original reporting said it was filmed from a weapons platform. Now he's saying we didn't say where it was filmed from. Yes, you did. Corbell said it was filmed from a weapons platform by an intelligence agency, which would make the story grander, much more dramatic. Oh, maybe it was a Reaper drone or a stealth fighter or bomber or some other weapons system that filmed this alien incursion into a military zone. No, it was filmed by an aerostat. You guys said it was filmed by a weapons platform. It wasn't. It was filmed from an aerostat, which is not a weapons platform. You got that wrong. Like almost in the same breath, he says, if you're a journalist and you get things wrong, you have to correct it. Then he lies to get out of another correction that they don't want to make.
What the platform was, but it's an aerostat, right?
Yeah, that's right. So now we can be really clear about it. So let's answer that, but let me go back to what you said. Why isn't it balloons? So I don't know what it is, but we now that the video is out without endangering, because we don't know who we can show this to initially. That's the problem. We can't just like throw it out to everybody and then all of a sudden, you're revealing sources.
Yeah, well, I think you should be more worried about criminal prosecution. What are the, and by the way, I'm just asking questions here, Jeremy Corbell. What are the legalities of somebody taking a film from a United States military aerostat in was it an active war zone or operation zone? It was an active military base. What are the legalities of somebody taking a video like that and giving it to a garbage peddling, shady UFO profiteering whore like Jeremy Corbell and letting him make money off of it? Is that legal? Is it moral? Is it ethical? These are some questions I have. And by the way, I'm just asking questions, right? And we're going to get into that because it appears that the government's really not too happy with this release. And we'll see more due to a statement that John from the Black Vault, God bless John from the Black Vault, got from Susan Goff, the Pentagon spokesperson, about this very issue.
So what we do know and what we knew before was that it's not a smudge. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it's not a smudge, but I love it. They say it's first they say it's balloons, then they say it's birds, and then they say it's bird shit. It's so funny to me.
Yeah, and by the way, that's what a real researcher does. They try to eliminate prosaic explanations. And I'll be the first to admit, upon first viewing that video, I thought it was a smudge on the camera casing too. But upon research, found out it couldn't be. So we go to another more likely explanation. The fact that Jeremy Corbell is going to deride people from trying to provide a prosaic explanation before yelling aliens like he's so keen on doing is comical. It is laughable and ridiculous.
The mental gymnastics that these, straight up debunkers, what they try to do. But so let's talk about that. So we know it's not a smudge on the lens because the infrared would look right through it when it's looking at a distance because of the field of view.
Yeah, and guess who he got that from? Mick West. Mick West proved that, right? And it's so funny that he's using his arch nemesis's own data and information to argue that the debunkers are wrong. You're basically citing Mick West and crying about debunkers. Well, Mick West keeps getting it right, you keep getting it wrong. So I'll side with Mick West and believe him. And by the way, Mick West, to my knowledge, has never been caught lying like you have so many times. So
now I'm not an expert in this, but not only was that obvious to me, so it's disingenuous for people to say that, but it was obvious to me, but also there's a guy online and he did this kind of time lapse that you sent me, George. It was on Twitter, I think. Again, I don't click on Twitter.
Also posted on Mick West's Metabunk, right? Where did he get that, right?
Except when you guys send me links.
And so funny, he's so upset about the debunkers and he's using all the stuff from Metabunk to say, oh, couldn't be this, couldn't be that. And by the way, Metabunk does a great job of eliminating what it could be.
You can see it clearly rotating as a three-dimensional object. So that was cool. So that kind of immediately debunked the debunkers on their initial things. Now,
yeah, and by the way, it's perfectly okay to be wrong on a gut reaction. And I'll be clear, my gut reaction was it was a smudge on the camera at first. But upon educating myself, I realized it couldn't be. So then we eliminate that. That's called good journalism or good research, Jeremy. Something that you didn't do. Why didn't you explain any of this shit before the debunkers pointed it all out to you?
Now, why isn't it balloons? This is important. Like, I would be very surprised if it was balloons because
Well, you better get your surprise face ready because it's most likely balloons, Jeremy.
These operators are highly trained. I've actually...
And here's another bluff. Training material would, by definition, be sensitive or classified material that you're not allowed to share with civilians. And right now, how many times has Jeremy Corbell bluffed that he had access to classified information, right? And now he's going to bluff again, claiming that he's seen all the training materials. Well, who showed you that? Because they would be criminally prosecuted for showing you the training materials for these surveillance platforms. And by the way, I got that from a real military source. I called and tried to check, like, can you just show training materials to journalists for the... No, because then it could get out to the enemy or our adversaries. So that would be severely... The training material for these surveillance platforms would be highly restricted material. He's going to claim he saw the training material. You're going to have a lot of explaining to do to the Pentagon, bro. Good luck. Good luck bluffing your way out of this bluff.
I've seen myself the training slides and the information that these guys go through to operate the aerostat, which is the question you had of the platform. So
he claims he saw the training material. Great. He's also previously claimed to see the logs that prove that the government was shooting down UAP and UFOs on a weekly basis as recently as last Friday. That would also be classified material. How many times is Jeremy Corbell allowed to bluff that he's seeing classified material that would likely be illegal for him to even see or be in possession of or be sent before we call his bluff, before the Pentagon calls his bluff? You know, there's a reason he suddenly declared himself a journalist, and it's not because he always wanted to be a journalist.
You're at this base in Iraq. It's a base within a base, and now it's publicly, said. So I'm going to say it. It's the Habaniya Lake. It was right by the base is right by that lake. What we know is that they are trained, like literally.
And again, here's another bluff. We have highly trained operators of these surveillance platforms that are going to tell you this can't be balloons. This is a prove or maneuver bluff. Provide the source. Interview anybody with verified credentials, an operator of an aerostat that will look at your data and say it cannot be balloons. I'm calling his bluff, and you should too. This man has bluffed enough. How many times is he going to bluff about seeing classified information?
Bunch of balloons.
Now he's got operators that are going to tell him it can't be balloons, but we don't get to see them. We don't get to talk to them. We don't get to hear from them. Kind of like all of those claimed sources that verify parts of Bob Lazar stories.
Here's what it looks like through the MX-20 camera off of the aerostat, right? And this is the Persistent Threat Detection Program, I think is the name of the aerostat. It's made by Lockheed Martin. And there's a couple, I believe there's a couple.
Yeah, and Lockheed Martin and the military always just let garbage peddling UFO hucksters see the training materials for their highly advanced surveillance platforms, because that wouldn't be a threat to national security at all if those training materials got in the hands of, Al-Qaeda or the Houthi rebels or any adversarial country, right? Even just a little bit of logic rips Jeremy Corbell to shreds with some of his likely false statements.
Cameras and seven sensor systems on this unit. And so they're trained to know before they ever start operating the machinery.
Yes, all of these mystery anonymous sources who told him this, right? And we're not allowed to see them, talk to them, know their names, vet them as real and verifiable sources. You wouldn't be just bluffing here because you got caught selling balloons again as alien spaceships. How many times are you going to get caught selling something as, quote, extraordinary craft before no one listens to you anymore?
This is what balloons are like. This is what they look like. This is how you can get confused by balloons. This is what a plastic bag in the wind or debris looks like. I have seen the briefing materials. I have talked to numerous people.
Again, he saw the briefing materials. So did you just say that you're in possession of very sensitive military information that might be classified? Did you just admit that or say that on a public live stream? Great. Then post it. Share your screen. Show us the training materials that you're in possession of, that you've seen, if you've indeed seen that. No, just another bluff from a bluffer.
That operate this system, and all of them say, we are trained on that. This is not that.
All of them. Great. So you're going to line them all up and you're going to put them on your podcast. All verified sources whose DD-214, whose military credentials you've checked, and they've operated these systems, and you're going to line them up on your podcast and put them all up one by one. All of them said it can't be balloons. Why aren't you putting them on your podcast? Prove that you're not lying here. Prove that you're not bluffing. The time that you were able to bluff fake information is over, Jeremy Corbell. You are not going to be allowed to bluff like this going forward any longer. That time is over. Enjoy all that money you made with the big bluffs. No more big bluffs from you, Corbell.
So from my understanding, and a lot more information.
And a lot more information that he won't show you.
Yeah, that's pretty much why we know that this was designated UAP, is because they excluded those very prosaic and simple answers to those questions of what it's not.
And there we have it. Jeremy Corbell with some big bluffs. He's seeing he's got classified information being sent to him. And he's getting this video sent to him over and over and over again, even after the Men in Black confiscated it with Marine armed guards and made everybody sign NDAs. Everybody's risking their careers, their pension, and criminal prosecution to send him the video they signed an NDA about anyway. Sure, totally makes sense. And what's his other prover maneuver bluff? Oh, by the way, I also saw the sensitive military training manuals for these highly advanced surveillance platforms that operate in war zones throughout the Middle East and elsewhere in the world all the time. And that's not a violation of national security laws or anything, right? Right? I'm totally allowed to see sensitive military training manuals for surveillance platforms, including threat identification systems. This all makes sense, right? Or maybe, just maybe, he's trying to bluff his way out of this one. Just like he tried to bluff his way out of the 29 Palms flare story. And that didn't work out too well for you, did it, Jeremy? Eventually, he had to drop it and admit that what he put out as craft had a prosaic explanation, an ordinary earthly explanation. And that explanation, my friends, it was flares over a military training exercise where flares were dropped. And he worked on that story for 3 years too, right? Or 2 years. And he had all this help from all these investigative journalists. And somehow the multimillionaire UFO expert somehow excluded flares as a likely or possible explanation, right? Very convenient. Wow. It's very convenient that if we say it's flares, we won't make any money. And very conveniently, if we say it's not flares and it could be flares and we bluff all these witnesses that will agree with us that it definitely can't be flares, we'll make tons of money. Very convenient. Wow. He's the luckiest guy, right? And we're going to go on over to Mick West's channel. And I highly recommend that in the description of the video, we're going to go with the Jellyfish UFO analysis first, which will pretty much solve the mystery. And by the way, in case you're keeping track, I don't know, are we playing Mick West, Jeremy Corbell, tic-tac-toe? Because if we are, I'm pretty sure that Mick West just won the game of tic-tac-toe, because he's 3 for 3 being correct and being right. And Jeremy Corbell's 3 for 3 with promoting a fake mystery and being completely and totally wrong. But hey, track record shouldn't matter, right? Because I want to hear alien stories, right? We'll just let this guy keep lying to us and keep selling us these fake manufactured mysteries that aren't mysteries, right?
This video, called Jellyfish, came out a few days ago. It shows an object seeming to fly over a US military base in Iraq. I initially noted that it looked a bit like some bird poop on a window, but that seemed unlikely as it would not be in focus with the long focal length of the camera. Also, there's more video.
Yeah, and by the way, did you hear that? Jeremy Corbell's making fun of the debunkers. Mick West gives you all the information. I initially thought it might have been bird poop or something on the window. He's mocking somebody for doing a real analysis and doing real research. He's mocking real research as he jumps straight to aliens.
Where it's further away. So the next obvious possibility is some balloons, perhaps with parallax from the moving plane or drone, which is creating the illusion of motion. But then after the video location was found, and a witness familiar with the situation came forward, it became clear that this was recorded from a surveillance balloon, a stationary camera, so the object was actually moving. The building configurations in the base have changed quite a bit over the last 6 years, but what matches is from 2017, which also matches.
Yeah, and look at the level of detail and research that Mick West was able to do in just a couple of days, right? Jeremy Corbell has this video for 3 years. He's got all these witnesses, and he gets it all wrong, including the date that the original video was recorded. And Mick West does real research, and he finds a date range that most likely this is when the video was recorded by doing real research. Jeremy Corbell does not do real research, and he mocks people who do. That'll tell you everything you need to know about Mr. Corbell's ethics and morality when it comes to how he approaches these stories.
It's what the witness said, even though the video description said 2018. We can use the matching buildings for a quick line of sight analysis. The surveillance balloon's location can be seen in Google Earth. This is the base of the balloon's tether. The balloon itself moves around a bit with the wind, but it's near this location. To calculate its altitude, I adjusted that altitude to match the roofline angle of this building. It looked right at about 750 meters, or around 2,500 feet. I put the camera at that altitude over the balloon tether in sitrec, and then added a ground track from the start to the end positions of the object.
By the way, why didn't Jeremy Corbell do a real analysis like this and eliminate earthly or ordinary explanations? Or with all his millions of dollars he's allegedly or apparently making off of UFOs while lying through his teeth and saying he doesn't get paid for UFOs in his own docuseries, why didn't he hire somebody to do an analysis like this? And by the way, I'm not the first to suggest that maybe he should hire Mick West, right? Because Mick West keeps getting it right and Jeremy Corbell keeps getting it wrong.
Based on the video and the geolocated buildings. Then I set up a straight line traversal, and it's a pretty good match. I have to use more recent imagery, but the remaining buildings match up. You see the speed and altitude in these graphs. We can increase the distance and the speed increases, but the size will decrease. Or we can decrease the distance and the object's speed decreases, but the size needs to increase. So, fiddling around with this, we can see that something drifting at a 10-mile-per-hour wind at around 1,800 feet would be about right.
Yeah, and by the way, you can check meteorological records and determine the wind speed. So what we've got is an object traveling at the direction of the wind and the speed of the wind, exactly like balloons would. Are alien spacecraft just operating exactly how a balloon would from a physics perspective? Right? Ooh, maybe they're trying to do that for stealth so people don't know it's aliens. They'll think we're a cluster of balloons instead of an alien jelly spaceship. It's so ridiculous.
Now, the object does not move much. It looks very static, but that's expected for something over 1,000 feet in the air that's not rising or falling. It just moves with the air. So there's no turbulent forces acting on it that would make it move around. In the video, we briefly see a flag fluttering in the wind. Isolating it, we can see that it is blowing to the left, to the west, in the same direction the object is traveling, consistent with that object being a balloon.
Oh, so isn't that just, it's just a coincidence that alien spaceship travel exactly in the same direction that the wind is blowing a flag in the same video. this is a real analysis. And what we get from Jeremy Corbell is jumping straight to aliens and not doing any work or research. It's ridiculous.
Some people noted that the object seems to get hotter and colder, darker and lighter in the infrared.
Yeah, that's
But if you
wrong.
look at the background, you'll see that that changes in sync with the object, which means it's just the camera adjusting the exposure and not actually a temperature change.
And by the way, that has been confirmed by multiple operators of this very surveillance platform and camera, the MX-20. Multiple people that we can verify operated this exact camera have agreed that Mick West is correct. The object does not change temperature. So Jeremy Corbell got that completely and totally wrong too, after 3 years of research. Why couldn't he find those experts? Right? He claimed just in the video we just showed, he's got all these experts. He's even got the training manual for that surveillance platform. So wouldn't he know if he had the training manual for the surveillance platform that it wasn't changing temperature and that Mick West nailed it?
There are also reports that it was only visible to the thermal sensor and was not visible to the naked eye. But then it was dark and over 1,000 feet up, so that's hardly surprising. Can you even see balloons in thermal footage? Yes, you can. Latex balloons are somewhat transparent close up, but a bunch would be visible, especially with some decorations. Mylar balloons reflect the cold sky, but are also always visible. So what does this indicate?
And by the way, the claim that they could not be seen on infrared cameras came from Jeremy Corbell, who's been wrong about so much of this story that I'm sorry, not sorry. You can't just let him do it. Trust me, bro. If he's going to claim it couldn't be seen by infrared sensors, then he's got to prove that. And he hasn't yet. So that's just an unproven claim, like many of his unproven claims.
Initial analysis tell us? Well, if there were some odd-shaped balloons, maybe a few balloons covered with some streamers or other decorations, and the wind at 1,800 feet was just 10 miles per hour from the east, then this is what you would see. But there's more. There's actually 2 videos. One video shows a faraway object. Jeremy Corbell
Here's another thing that Jeremy Corbell got wrong, completely and totally wrong.
suggests that this was showing the same object over water. But we can see from the heading of 172 degrees and the slant range of 6.8 kilometers that it's actually several miles due south of the base.
Jeremy Corbell's original reporting, another thing he got wrong. Oh, this went over water. No. Mick West just proved with science and math it wasn't over water at all. Jeremy Corbell got that completely and totally wrong.
We can also see some power lines and roads, so we can do a rough geolocation. Again, it's just moving in a straight line in the direction of the wind at about wind speed, consistent with a balloon. But is it the same balloon? We see this second video has different colored text on screen. This suggests a different camera, or maybe just a different time. There's only one aerostat camera on the base, and this video is consistent with that location. So it could be a different balloon-like object filmed at a different time, but with similar wind. So are we just looking at 2 different bunches of balloons? We can't be sure. It might be a new form of life, an ultra-terrestrial non-human intelligence jellyfish-like creature, or even an interdimensional probe.
Yeah, that just so happens to move at the same speed and direction of the wind in a straight line with the speed and direction of the wind.
But those things are pretty extraordinary, and we don't even know if they exist. We do know that ordinary balloons are a very common source of airborne clutter. These objects move like balloons, and they're balloon-sized. So despite the odd appearance, I think that what we are looking at here is something like 2 bunches of balloons, miles apart, drifting in the wind.
And there we have it. So, and that's another thing. There's no proof that these 2 objects are the same object filmed at the same time. And you can't trust a peddler of fantastical fake stories like Jeremy Corbell to tell you the truth about those things. So let's get into the next one that Jeremy Corbell, the chandelier. This is another great one. Jeremy Corbell gets it completely wrong again. And Mick West, who, by the way, I always try to say this. All you people that hate on Mick West, maybe your hatred and your anger is misplaced. And instead of being angry at the guy who tells you the truth about what that object in the UFO documentary really is, maybe you should get mad at the person who lied to you about it being, probably alien or probably some extraordinary craft. The anger with people like Mick West is completely, it just escapes me. Like, do you just want to live in a fantasy world where everything's jellyfish, alien, spaceship when it's balloons? And here's another one.
This still image of a spiky UFO was released by Jeremy Corbell. It's called Chandelier because apparently this is what a chandelier looks like if you lay on a table and look up at one. When I first saw it, I recognized it looked rather like a diffraction artifact. Bright lights or heat sources often have a star-shaped diffraction pattern around them. This can vary a lot by camera, lighting conditions, and the settings, but generally depends on the shape of the aperture and the configuration of support vanes in a compound mirror telescope. On Metabunk, Flarkey.
By the way, this is another one that Jeremy Corbell claims to have been working on for how long? How long did Jeremy Corbell work on this? Why couldn't he do a real analysis? Or pay somebody that's a military expert familiar with these things that could, solve the mystery? Could it possibly be that he doesn't want to solve mysteries? He wants to sell mysteries. I'm going to say that one more time. Could it possibly be that Jeremy Corbell does not want to solve the mysteries? He wants to sell the mystery.
He recognized the camera as a Raytheon MTS-B, and we see that does indeed have the support vanes in the main camera. There's not a lot of sample footage, but we do see diffraction spikes. But what are these weird club or arrow-shaped spikes? They do look odd. Within a video about the MQ-9 Reaper with a similar camera, I noticed a diffraction pattern that also had clubbed spikes. We also see from the lens flare that it has a square or diamond-shaped aperture, which is probably related. Then, John Phil published an analysis on Metabunk. Using the Masculator software, he used images of the camera to create an input mask, which is then used to calculate the expected diffraction pattern.
Yeah, and I just want to say that Metabunk is an excellent resource. If you actually want to know the truth of these things and not buy the lie from the garbage peddlers pushing the lies, it's metabunk.org. And Mick and like-minded people from around the world get together and they actually solve these mysteries. Imagine that, instead of just jumping straight to selling the mystery and claiming alien spaceships.
John also noticed a crucial point. The vanes on the MTS-B are apodizing, meaning they are a bit wavy. Putting that info into the Masculator gives a diffraction pattern that has the odd club or arrow shapes. It was lacking the horizontal and vertical spikes, but those are a consequence of a square aperture. If we calculate that diffraction pattern and then add them together, we get something that looks very much like the chandelier. These results were also roughly replicated by Adams AT using a different program.
So what we've got is multiple independent researchers who are experts in these surveillance systems, essentially concurring that this is nothing extraordinary. This is not a chandelier UFO. This is not what Jeremy Corbell sold it as. This, in fact, is not a mystery. But again, Jeremy Corbell doesn't want to do research. He doesn't want to get real analysts and military experts and military surveillance platform experts to look at his footage. He just wants to run the TMZ and fill up his bank account so that he can make money selling a fake mystery.
Now, this is just a still image that looks like the expected diffraction artifact of the camera involved, but there's also a description of the object moving around weirdly. We also see what looks a bit like a smoke trail or a contrail.
And by the way, the person making all of these wild, out-of-this-world claims, like nobody in the intelligence community, remember how this was sold. Jeremy Corbell's anonymous intelligence source said that this baffled the entire intelligence community. Nobody knew what this was. Was that a bluff? Because how come civilian experts on these matters can identify it in minutes, using actual math and research? And his military expert said that it baffled the entire intelligence community. Maybe that was a bluff. Who knows?
Fits all of these observations? Hard to say without seeing the video, but since this is thermal footage, we are looking at something hot, maybe an explosion. But if it actually moves around, then maybe an engine or a rocket motor, possibly even a reflection of the sun. So it could be a missile or an aircraft in the distance flying away. The hot engine or rocket motor gives the bright diffraction artifact. Perspective compression makes the smoke trail look more dramatic than it actually was, and this could also give the illusion that the object is just moving up, down, left, and right when it's really flying away at high speed along a slightly irregular path.
Or it's an alien spaceship from the planet Xanadu and Dimension X, right?
Again,
and again, I get it. Jeremy Corbell always pulls the bluff. Oh, I'm not saying it was aliens, but this baffled the entire intelligence community. Nobody knew what this object was. Okay, great.
Hard to say without the video. But from this photo matching...
Yeah, and there could be a reason that we only get the still. That's part of the lie by omission. He tries to give as little data as he can. And we saw in that other example that the heads-up display was purposefully cropped out of the so-called Jellyfish UFO video, because that would include longitudinal and latitudinal information, geolocation information, and other information that could help solve the mystery. And again, Corbell doesn't want to solve mysteries. He wants to sell mysteries.
In the diffraction pattern of the MTSB camera, there's really no reason to suspect that this is the actual shape of the craft or that it's non-human technology. Cool story, but as in so many cases, the physical evidence points towards the mundane.
Yeah, so there we have it. Another excellent breakdown by Mr. Mick West of metabunk.org. By the way, I asked Mick West if anybody else knows, is there a way to donate money to Metabunk or to Mick West? I know he's a busy guy, so I asked him, and he didn't get back to me. So if somebody knows, please do let me know. I'd like to put my money where my mouth is and give the people telling me the truth about these strange and mysterious UFO videos and objects and information. I'd like to give them a couple bucks. I'd like to reward the people who are telling me the truth and not the people who are lying to us. And just one more, because we can complete the three shot set, and there's more that are likely fake that Corbell has put out and ordinary explanations. After all, we've got, right? What about the one video that turns out it was likely a radar reflector or a radar target? We've got another one that's likely a rocket or a missile. But before I forget, I want to make sure that I put on the record and ask this question. Where is Jeremy Corbell getting all of these sensitive military videos taken over, in some cases, active war zones or operation zones? And is it really legal for him to slap his trademark or whatever copyright on these videos and profit from them if they're taxpayer-funded videos? These are questions that Mr. Corbell should answer. My favorite is the triangle spaceships. And that one, even NASA agreed with Mr. Mick West's excellent debunk. This is a little bit older now, but in this one, Jeremy Corbell claimed that these were alien pyramid spaceships and they couldn't be drones or anything ordinary.
This UFO video does not show a pyramid.
By the way, just to really make the point, this was another one where Jeremy Corbell bluffed and said, no, we've got all these witnesses. It couldn't be drones. It couldn't be misidentification. It couldn't be. It's some kind of extraordinary craft, pyramid spaceships, right? We never heard from any of those witnesses. And by the way, I think that this video, which by the way was released in its full form, was purposefully manipulated, because there exists a video where somebody on the deck is talking about a drone sighting while this video is playing. And that audio was just conveniently left out of Jeremy Corbell's, right? Why? Because selling a drone video isn't going to make you very much money, where there's a guy on the video saying it's a drone sighting. But if you cut that audio out and say it's a pyramid spaceship, you could likely make a hell of a lot more money, right?
There's a triangle shape, but that looks exactly like an effect caused by a bright light being out of focus and a night vision camera with a triangular iris, like this one, or a triangular lens cover, like this one. This effect is known as bokeh. It's also probably a plane because it blinks in the same pattern as a Boeing 737, and the ship, the USS Russell, was directly under the route for planes flying into Los Angeles from Hawaii and Asia.
Yeah, so according to Jeremy Corbell, alien spaceships blink at the very same rate as, airline lights from a regular human airline. Apparently, alien spaceships, I guess to cloak themselves so we don't think they're alien spaceships, have the very same blink pattern as commercial aircraft. Yeah, not suspicious at all.
There are a couple more triangles in the scene. Those are probably stars, because they look exactly like stars taken with a night vision camera out of focus with a triangular iris. There's some bright lights at the start of the Pyramid UFO video. That's probably Jupiter and some stars because it matches exactly where Jupiter and some stars were on that day. They don't show up as sharp triangles because the cameraman has not zoomed in yet. But they look the same shape as the supposed flashing pyramid does when it first arrives. There's some points of light in the video that sometimes look like stars. They are not stars. They are random noise, stray electrons in the image intensifier tube. They change from frame to frame. They don't show up as triangles as they form in the image intensifier tube, which is behind the iris, so they are not affected by it. I first saw this video 1 week ago, on April the 8th. I instantly realized it looked like a plane from the flashing lights, and quickly figured out that bokeh was the best explanation for the triangular lights. But I had no evidence, and no night vision binocular, and couldn't find a night vision binocular that had a triangular iris. So I tried duplicating it by taping a triangular hole in the front of my regular camera. This gave nice triangles for lights and stars when out of focus. I also found that taping holes in the front of night vision binoculars was actually something people did, although I couldn't find any triangular shapes. Then, a breakthrough. Jesse3959 on Metabunk took a look at his night vision binocular and discovered, hey, it has a triangular iris. I asked him for some footage of lights and stars, and he delivered. Then, using a styrofoam holder, he recorded the output with his phone. He changed the focus, and that changed the size of the triangles. And when he filmed the darker sky, you get exactly the same faint stars and sparkly noise that you do in the Pyramid UFO video.
Gee, that's just a coincidence, right? This is just a coincidence that it looks almost exactly the same, right?
Then, another breakthrough. A friend told me he had a military-style PVS-14 night vision binocular. He taped a triangular hole on the front and got just the same results as with the triangular iris. Lights took on a triangular shape that changed with focus. Stars looked like the faint objects in the Pyramid UFO video, and we get the exact same noise. This PVS-14 footage also shows a circular glare around the triangular bokeh, something that appears in the Pyramid UFO footage and that people thought was evidence that it was actually triangular shaped. But it's not. The circular glare is just spreading light. It happens all through the camera, so it looks round and even. The triangle is a different thing, only affected by the front iris or lens cover, so the triangle and circle are independent. So why couldn't the Navy figure this out? Why did they confirm the videos were real?
Yeah, this is an interesting part of the story, and it has to do with manipulation. These mystery stories are always manipulated, and you never get all the information.
Why does it show up on a slide for the UAP task force described as an unknown unmanned aerial system at 700 feet? Well, the key thing here is that the task force investigates sightings that were initially unidentified. This includes examinations of incursions that are initially reported as UAP when the observer cannot immediately identify what he or she is observing. And I think that's what we're seeing here. These are some lights in the sky that a Navy observer filmed with an accidentally out-of-focus night vision binocular and a phone. initially they were unidentified. Maybe they still are. Maybe some were Chinese drones at 700 feet. Maybe some were misidentified planes heading for Los Angeles. But one thing is pretty clear. They were not pyramids.
Yeah, and there you have it. Another complete and totally fake mystery created by Jeremy Corbell, sold by Jeremy Corbell, profited on by Jeremy Corbell, that really has nothing to do with the original, what it really is. And this we see is how these mysteries, these fake mysteries, often work. Now, we have shown you a tremendous amount of evidence of deception, manipulation, and more. And I'm at a loss here. Like, what do you do with that? Well, one of the things that you do with that is that you realize that these people who are selling these mysteries, they don't really, it's hard to say. Are they doing this intentionally and purposefully? Or are they just so much into that believer brain side of things that they instantly believe anything that they see must be an alien spaceship? Viewers of mine can make up their own mind. I have become far too critical, cynical, and more of the peddlers of this disinformation, misinformation, fake information, false information. I just, at this point, think that people are doing this on purpose because it's very profitable. We have heard of Mr. Corbell's sudden apparent windfalls of money after starting to peddle UFO stories and buying $1 million properties and more. So people are free to make up their own mind. Now, I was going to show one more piece, which is the pyramid spaceship video. I'm sure that I posted the released version of it from the government, which includes the audio. If somebody could scrub through our videos, not live, but our videos, to maybe find that. I'm having a real tough time finding it. I don't know. I tried with keyword searches here while we were listening to Mick West's excellent breakdown. It's in our video section. I thought it was titled something like, oh no, I got it. Navy drone video. Jeremy Corbell lied. Yeah, I found it. Isn't it interesting that the manipulation that takes place, it's part of what interests me in some of these fake stories. Occasionally somebody will say, why do you spend so much time on fake stories? It's kind of interesting to me to peel back those layers of deception and see how these fake stories are manipulated, how they are generated. And this is the interaction with UNK, UAS, RSL, and this video was unclassified.
On board USS Russell in position 3217 north, 11957 west, operating in SoCal hot area. With course 270 true, speeds 59. At time 0424 Zulu. We have visual of 4 probable unidentified drones.
Unidentified drones. Did you hear that?
Time 0424
Play it again.
Zulu. We have visual of 4 probable unidentified drones with course unknown and speed unknown. Contact.
So why is it that Jeremy Corbell didn't include the audio of the video? Was that just an oversight on his part? Was that just a mistake on his part? Or was that intentional? Because a story about a Navy ship and somebody on board a Navy ship spotting drones is not really going to sell quite like a story about pyramid spaceships will sell. I think that's pretty interesting that in Jeremy Corbell's original reporting of the story, he just showed video and there was none of the audio from this stuff. I think that it's not a coincidence. That's my personal opinion. I can't prove that, but I have observed the deceptive editing of Mr. Corbell for quite some time. And I think it's not a coincidence that the audio in Jeremy Corbell's video was, suspiciously absent.
6 West, operating in SoCal op area with course 034 true, speeds 15 knots at time 0937 Zulu. We have visual of one possible UAS with course 034 true, contacts operating at a range of 4,000 yards. Flashing red.
UAS. He says UAS here. This is unmanned aerial system.
Zulu. We have visual of one possible UAS with course 034 true, contacts operating at a range of 4,000 yards. Flashing red, green, and white solid lights seen.
And what are the FTC lights? Flashing exactly what he said. Flashing lights that just so happen to correspond with FAA required lighting systems on all commercial or private aircraft. So it's interesting to me to see the possible steps of, the manipulation that takes place. So what we're left with, if we really look at the history of Mr. Corbell's so-called offerings in UFO land, is a history of deceptive editing, a history of lie by omission, a history of getting facts wrong, a history of the big bluff. Oh no, I've got a whole lot of sources that say that wasn't balloons. It couldn't be balloons. And did you catch that bluff? Oh no, I've seen the training manuals for these highly, sensitive or in some cases classified surveillance platforms. And it couldn't be something as simple as balloons. And another bluff. I've got all these people that say it couldn't be that. Well, line them up. Line them up. You got all week. You got plenty of time. Get them all on the podcast there, Mr. Jeremy Corbell, and explain to us, if you don't, where are all those sources at that are telling you that Mick West is wrong, or it can't be just something as ordinary as balloons, but he never does. Every time is no, it's definitely not Boca. We've got witnesses. We've got witnesses that were on the ship. It's not Boca. Great. Where's the witnesses? We never see them. Oh no, it's definitely not flares. We've got witnesses. It couldn't be flares. We've got all these witnesses. They all say it definitely wasn't flares. They're military experts. Great. Line them up on your podcast. Can we hear from them? Can we have their names so other researchers can interview them? Oh no, we never see them. And again, he's done this for a third time now. Oh no, couldn't be balloons. I've seen the training manuals from these highly sensitive, sometimes classified surveillance platforms that operate in active war zones or whatever. And I've seen those, even though it would probably be illegal for me to see those, right? And a violation of the Espionage Act. Hey, I've seen them. Trust me, bro. Just like I've seen the logs from the ships that prove they were shooting at unidentified aerial phenomenon or UFOs every week, as recently as last Friday. There's another bluff for you, right? And now the most recent one, I've got all these witnesses. It can't be balloons. We've got all these witnesses. They all say it can't be balloons. Line them up, dude, or you've just bluffed again. And I'm calling Corbell's bluff. I'm tired of him getting away with this. How many more bluffs does he get? He's had enough. This is 3 cases where he bluffed his ass off, manipulated the data, misidentified something ordinary. And remember, he's a multimillionaire UFO expert, right? No, I don't think so. No more. We have to, at some point, realize that people like Jeremy Corbell make a mockery of this subject when a serious scientist looks at this stuff. People like Jeremy Corbell, and to a lesser but still somewhat significant, level, George Knapp, they make this thing a mockery. I'm sure that Mr. Corbell also claimed that this was filmed, this latest garbage video, the Jellyfish, was filmed from a weapons platform. We reported that in our previous story here. You know, I don't understand how they could sit there with straight faces and say, we didn't say what it was filmed from, but now we can. Yes, because the noisy negativist showed you, right, what it was and where it was filmed from. The people that are critical, the people that actually, you know, care about doing real research and not just profiting to the tune of how much money are you making from this shit? And by the way, I'm going to push that point again. Why does Jeremy Corbell get all these government leaks and get to become a millionaire by slapping his copyright and selling footage to TMZ, selling footage to, you know, these are taxpayer-funded videos. He doesn't own them. He doesn't have the right to claim them as his. To the best of my knowledge of these things, these are publicly funded, taxpayer funded. We all own them. And so every time he does this, I go to government people and ask them. Nobody gets back to me. But we may have a remedy for that situation because, you know, people that have more impressive press credentials than I currently have can actually get answers. And I'm going to press this issue with the United States government. Several issues, by the way, like why is this allowed? Why is he constantly able to profit all of this much off of videos that are owned by American taxpayers, that were filmed by our United States government, which we all paid for? He doesn't have the exclusive rights to get all these leaks. And that's another situation. Some of these leaks are from military bases. Isn't this stuff classified? And I'm just asking questions. I don't know. Is it legal for people to leak these leaks to Jeremy Corbell? Is it legal for him to sell them to TMZ or whoever he's selling them to, or put them on monetized YouTube channels? I'm asking these questions because I think, you know, Mr. Disclosure and Transparency, that's another thing. Where are all these leaks coming from? I don't know if it's true, but many people have suggested that they're coming from Dave Grush, who was investigated shortly after the government found out that he was hanging out with these two who keep getting government leaks. So I want to know, what is the government doing about all these government leaks? Is it legal? What is the situation here? And one last thing to share. We'll try to wrap things up here. We've gone a little further than, I apologize. A lot of information to share. So John Greenwald Jr. from theblackvault.com. By the way, I always say this, but I truly mean this. John's like a good guy. He's one of the good guys. People ask me all the time, who can you trust? John Greenwald is like the Walter Cronkite of UFOs. And, there's always things you can learn from people that have skills you don't. I get it. A lot of people don't like my approach or my delivery or my being too aggressive or nasty to these people. And John, even when he's saying somebody is full of shit, he says it diplomatically like a professional. I could learn a lot from John from the Black Vault. He's able to get statements from the government. And here he posts, the Pentagon has issued a statement about the, quote, Jellyfish, unquote, UFO UAP case as released by TMZ by Jeremy Corbell. And here's the statement. We do not comment on the authenticity of alleged DOD material that may have been leaked. DOD takes public interest in unidentified anomalous phenomena seriously and is committed to openness and accountability to the American people. This commitment must be balanced with the department's obligation to protect sensitive information, sources, and methods. To that end, AARO will provide updates to the public via its website as it resolves UAP cases, including sharing the analytic approach and method used for each case, as well as imagery, when approved for public release. Then, the final part of the quote is the most interesting from this legal question that I keep asking. Like, how is Jeremy Corbell able to keep getting these sensitive leaks and make money from them? And should that be legal? Should he be under investigation? And by the way, here's the sad part. Since he's now declared himself a journalist, did you know that almost no journalist gets prosecuted when sensitive or even classified leaks are given to a journalist? Do you know who does get prosecuted? The person who leaked it to them. So isn't that great? Like, even if there is an investigation, people like Corbell could get off scot-free after making, how much money did you make from all these, Jeremy? Can we get a spreadsheet, an accounting of how much money you've made from all of these misidentified military videos? And that's what they are. Let's be clear. Jeremy Corbell has released misidentified military videos. Well, except I guess for the 29 Palms, somebody filmed the flares. It may not have come from a military source. But these other ones, the Jellyfish, military source. Somebody leaked that to him. The Pyramid UFOs, military source. Somebody leaked that to him. The Mosul orb image, which for sure is problematic for Corbell because it is a still image that came from a video that was shown in a classified briefing. I don't think it's legal for him to be in possession of that, and I want to know what our government's going to do about it. The Department of Defense, says Susan Goff, takes the potential unauthorized disclosure of national security information very seriously. DOD, that would be the Department of Defense, organizations, including AARO, regularly emphasize to their workforces the importance of protecting national security information in accordance with information security laws, regulations, and processes. Now, it's interesting. They used to confirm that it did come from a government source. Now they're not going to confirm it. And the reason they're giving for not confirming or anything in their statement is this may be a problem because it's unauthorized disclosure of national security information, and they won't comment on the authenticity of alleged DOD material that may have been leaked. This is going to become a problem for Mr. Corbell, I think, because how long is the government going to let this guy pretend that misidentified military videos are alien spaceships before they're finally going to bring the hammer down and say somebody's getting prosecuted? And by the way, I'm just asking questions here. That's all I'm doing. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm not a professional when it comes to national security laws and the Espionage Act. But I have a lot of questions. And just to be clear, I'm going to start asking those questions. And I'm going to ask those questions a lot more forcefully and a lot more aggressively. And I'm going to demand answers from people like Susan Goff at the Pentagon. Is anybody under investigation for all these leaks? Is there going to be any criminal prosecutions? Are you guys just going to let people profit from, leaked military videos that aren't alien spaceships that are claiming it could be or might be, or it's got to be alien spaceships? Or are you going to do something about this? I've grown so tired of this circus, of this Corbell circus of releasing videos leaked to him by government sources, right? Where's my government leaks? Yeah, I'd like to monetize my curiosity. Right? I'd like a $100,000 SUV. Actually, I'd really just like a $1,500 beat up old 4-wheel drive vehicle. That's really what I want to manifest. But hey, I don't need $100,000. But hey, one leaked military video and I could get a TMZ deal and get my $1,500 4x4 old Jeep or something that I need for my cabin. Right? That would be awesome. So we want to take a moment to thank you, kind and generous benefactors. We've got a couple more of you. For those unaware, we read every single super chat, and we thank every single person that sends any support our way. And unlike the people that are making millions lying to you, we're trying to bring you the truth, and we're trying to peel back those layers of deception. And to all of you who got caught a little too deep down the rabbit hole, we're the ladder back to reality. And we want to thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We want to thank Dala, for a kind and generous $5 says, hey, Stephen, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. I figure it's only right. You know the feeling is mutual. Take care and thanks again. Oh, that is the nicest super chat anybody's ever sent me. Thank you, Dela. And by the way, I do feel appreciated, and I get nice messages all the time. Of course, I get a lot of wackadoos telling me they want to murder me and my whole family or dox me, threaten my family too. But I get a lot of nice messages, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm also thankful for people like you, Dela, and their kindness. Thank you so much. Tommy T says, Happy New Year. A few weeks late, Stephen. You document and expose the idiocracy all around us in UFO land. What you do is important. Thank you. Well, what you just did is important, and we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We want to thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. All right, and we thank all of you guys. Did I get that one? I think I did. 16th Doc also. Yeah, so we thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. I got a little bit more time to share with you. I apologize. I thought I could fit all of this stuff in 2 hours. And by the way, here's the difference between the clickbait merchants of garbage and me. We actually give you, or we really strive our very best to give you a great deal of information. And all of the sources, most of them that we used, is in the description of the video. Some of the things that we may not have included, you too can follow me on Twitter. I've shared most of what I shared tonight that is not in the sources list. I've shared that on my Twitter. It's at Stephen Canby. And also be sure that you follow us on Instagram. We're broadcasting live there every time we do a live show. And that's at Truthseeker Show. One Truthseeker, the word show, all one word. At Truthseeker Show. Come on and find us on Instagram. I need a bigger bullhorn. I need it. I need a bigger bullhorn. We're making good progress, and we are doing really good things. Trying to expose the layers of deception these people are using to sell garbage. And we could use your help to do that. For those unaware, I'm going to just show you that issue. Here's another thing that bothers me. We're going to get it all off my chest tonight. I got Jeremy Corbell and everything I've been thinking about him off my chest tonight, and George Knapp. And we're going to get one other thing off my chest that really does. It really bothers me. This issue is really bothering me. For those unaware, oh, no, I can't even show you. All right, I'll just try to verbally explain it to you. What happens is we do a live stream, and the monetization is on during the live stream. And for the past months and months and months is what happens is as soon as the live stream is over, I'm just going to say a platform. You all know which platform demonetizes the video. And then I have to submit it for review, which takes 3 or 4 days on average sometimes. Sometimes it takes a week, could take up to 7 days. And we do a live stream show. So we finish the live stream. We get our couple of, ad pennies during the live stream, but most of the views come after the live stream in the next day or two. By then, people have moved on to other live streams, and there's no more views or very little views. So what's happening is they they let us monetize the video, and then after the stream ends, they demonetize our video. We submit for review, takes a few days, then they turn it back on when all the views are gone. So essentially, what we're learning is on many large distribution platforms for video, you can make all the money you want selling people fake stories like TMZ does, like Corbell does. You can make all the money you want if you're selling people fake stories. But if you're going to make a video breaking down how people are profiting and selling fake stories on those platforms, you get demonetized. Now, I don't know if we've been specifically targeted. Some people have offered suggestions, like some of the wackadoo true believers hate my guts for busting their delusion bubbles. That's what we do here. We pop those delusion bubbles. Pop, pop, pop. Tonight we popped a lot of them. But we're getting penalized. Imagine a world in which you can lie as much as you want. You can fake alien videos, fake alien stories, fake UFOs. Oh, the Jellyfish UFO. Oh, flares is an alien spaceship. And you can be as monetized as you want. However, if you make a video showing people these people are not being honest with you, you're demonetized. I don't know why this is, but I just want to make people aware of that issue. So, and by the way, I've been attacked. Well, you're making money, Stephen. Well, here's one of the issues. Money that we do generate, and I'm thankful for every penny of it, comes from the kindness, generosity, and support of like people who join our Patreon for $1, or people who become a YouTube channel member for $5, or for people who throw a couple bucks in our hat. We're not making. I don't know what the breakdown is. I don't want to misspeak. You know, I'm certain we're making a very small percentage of the show's income from ad revenue, but due to this issue, we get the truth tax. We get penalized for telling you the truth. I should just lie to people. God damn it, somebody buy me some balloons on Amazon and some helium tanks. I'm going to grift this shit out the wazoo like everybody else, right? What if I just grift for a week and that pays for the whole rest of the year of Truthseekers? But I'm honest and say this is grift week. I think that's a great idea. We're gonna do this. We're gonna have let's do grift month. Let's really make it worth it, right? So I'll be a UFO grifter for 1 month. We'll tell everybody it's a grift, and we'll generate as much income as we can in that 1 month, and then we'll do it the right way the other 11 months out of the year. I think people would forgive me for grift month. Times are tough, brother. Can you spare $1? We got to do something to keep this show going, because these Taco Bell wages, and by the way, I'm happy to have some Taco Bell wages, but I would kind of like to have like Home Depot wages, or, you know, like Walmart manager wages. That would be nice. Talk about working class hero. And by the way, I admit I got kind of triggered by Jeremy Corbell lying about not getting paid for UFOs. This guy's buying $1 million properties and he's crying in his docuseries that he doesn't get paid. He's buying expensive SUVs and expensive watches, and he's crying that he doesn't get paid for UFOs. And by the way, if you're a follower or supporter of Jeremy Corbell, I just want to know, really, email me, truthseekershow@gmail.com. How do you feel about him lying through his teeth to you, saying that he doesn't get paid for UFOs? I can show you. There's information online that anybody can find. Just Google Orchard Film Deal, Jeremy Corbell, and we can show you what did he do those for? He did those for his health. He did those just out of the kindness of his heart. And show us the contracts then, Jeremy Corbell. Orchard picks up 2 UFO documentaries. The indie distributor has signed to a 2-picture deal with JKLC Films. And who's that? That's Jeremy Corbell, right? And both come from filmmaker Jeremy Kenton Locker Soccer Corbell, Patient 17, and are set for 2018 release. Hunt for the Skinwalker, based on a best-selling book by George Knapp. We broke that down for you, right? That there's no evidence. He made congratulations! How much money did you make selling a fake documentary with stories that have no evidence? Knapp admitted there's no evidence, right? So this is interesting. How can this guy sit there and lie through his teeth in his own docuseries claiming he doesn't get paid for UFOs when he's got film deals, right? He's going to have to explain this. It's not up to me to explain it. Why did you lie to all your followers? Are you trying to pretend to be some working class hero? And just to be clear, I've never claimed to be a working class hero, but I'm a working class man with a working class income that tries to provide people with good value for the support that we get. And my show has a viewer-supported model. I don't have contracts with Orchard or TMZ or Tubi or Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of that. But we're able to provide people with good, accurate, complete information. Corbell gives you half the story. I just I don't know how this works, right? Martin R. says Stephen's smoking. Mark Tirana, this is claims made in the live chat, not necessarily reflecting mine, says Cowbell's mommy is paying for his properties. Well, his dad does own a bunch of properties, and his mom and dad pretty wealthy, affluent people, I hear. So who knows? Corbell's not smart enough to remember his previous comments are recorded by him. I agree, Tiki71. Excellent point. Excellent point. All right. We'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. Please put them in all capital letters, right? Woo Guy Fu says, do it for the truth, not the money. Well, I'm going to repeat what I've said previously just for people who are curious. I don't pay my bills out of the show income. I don't pay my car insurance, my, household expenses, personal expenses, medical expenses, grocery bills. None of that comes out of the show. The money for the show goes in the till, and when we need something here, we purchase it with the show funds. And we, honestly, we've been very lucky here. When we need something, there's usually a little bit of money in there, and the show money also pays for the show's expensive. Like we got an expensive, software and video editing and Google Drive hosting and audio software to convert and record the audio version of the podcast and all this stuff, right? Randy says, never feed Corbell any amount of Taco Bell. Okay. Chuck Bam says, Corbell needs to have a ghostwriter write him a best-selling book. Yes, Art and Paranormal reminding everybody, please put all comments in and questions for Stephen in all capitals. Thank you. Yes, for those unaware, and by the way, I'll say it again for the dumb dickheads who keep attacking me for wearing glasses, I'm half blind. I have a paralyzed eye. That's the reason for the glasses, and also the reason why it's helpful to me if you put all of your questions or comments in all capital letters. It helps me easily and quickly identify that as something you want me to share on the screen. So I don't really see anybody asking any questions. We've still got a great audience here. We'll be wrapping things up here. We've got a great music video to play things out in. And by the way, I want to take a moment to recognize and understand that I never intended for Truthseekers to be a solo adventure. What I wanted to do is build a community here of like-minded people. And we've done that. So I'm going to take a moment to thank some of the people who contributed. We've got Art and Paranormal and Thin Lizzy chat room moderating. Thanks to them. We've got music videos by Simon Fly. Just search for Simon Fly on YouTube. Go. If you like these music videos, there's a ton of them on his YouTube channel. The guy doesn't get enough love. We love him and his work. Thank you, Simon Fly. And graphics tonight, both the Shady Bunch graphic, I love that, were by Phil. It's at PhilJ1974, who makes sort of fun of a lot of this stuff. We thank him as well. And we thank all of our kind and generous benefactors who throw a couple of bucks in our hat every chance they get, which helps us to continue this journey. And I don't know why, but it didn't convert well to a background. So I'm going to share this one more time for Phil. The Shady Bunch. This looks like a docu-series to me, right? This looks like the cover to a docu-series to me. I think it is. I think it would make a great cover to a docu-series, right? Interesting that many of these people use the same methods to sell their garbage. How many fake stories have we caught? The Australian, right? Ross Coulthart. How many fake stories has Gary Nolan been involved in? Right? You remember the ball shavings with Coulthart? That was great. And Lou Elizondo, the fake Pentagon UFO program director. Love that guy. Dave Grush. What are we, 226 days, still no evidence of his claims. But don't worry, Christopher Mellon's pulling his strings and deciding what interviews he could give. Oh, you got to love it. Tonight we covered Corbell and George Knapp. George Knapp deserves his own episode. Someday I'll get to that. Just great graphics. The Shady Bunch. Here's the story, right? That's the way they all became the Shady Bunch. The Shady Bunch. Love it. I got to do a song for that one, Phil. With your permission, I'm going to use that graphic. I'm doing the Shady Bunch song. So I think we have covered our bases, done our due diligence. Billy Hicks is here. Says, Stephen Cambian, I knew you were an authentic great guy when I saw you tear up telling that story about doing magic for sick children. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I'm surprised you remember that. Stephen may be abrasive and blunt, but his heart is gold. Thank you. I appreciate that. A longtime show supporter and somebody, you women have memories like elephants. You never forget things. My wife never forgets anything. She could tell you shit I did wrong 20 years ago. Right? Thank you, Billy Hicks. Yeah. Roman X, this is an excellent question. Why is it that nobody calls out Corbell on his BS during interviews? Well, look who he's interviewing people with. All people that have a vested financial interest in promoting UFOs. You think News Nation's going to give you all the information we shared with you tonight? Never. They're in on it, right? And I'm sad to say that many people I once admired and respected have fallen prey to the Corbell clown show. And that's what it is. It's a clown show. The fact that this guy keeps getting caught selling completely fake stories, yet he's on news programs as a military UFO expert. No, he's an expert at taking military videos and pretending they're aliens. That's what he's an expert at. Yeah. Hey, where's Nolan with his club makeup? Yeah, he needs more eyeliner in that one shot, right? He definitely needs more eyeliner. How long until we're Corbell proof, Stephen? No idea. But we've done our part tonight in exposing this. I hear some other shows may be exposing more of Corbell's bullshit in this week, which I'm excited to see. Right? What do you think about the Chris Bledsoe story? Well, you can look up our series, Murder in UFO Land. Chris Bledsoe was, I think. Well, I don't want to say too much. I think that Chris Bledsoe is a joke, and I think that he is very dangerous because I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Mike Rotunda, but somebody literally murdered their own father and live streamed him dying on Twitter. That was a huge fan of the lady and Chris Bledsoe's bullshit stories. And Mr. Bledsoe may have had some direct involvement with that individual who killed his own father. Just search our YouTube archive. It's called Murder in UFO Land, the Christopher Gray story. It's a shocking story, and I've worked really hard on that, and almost nobody cared. But hey, Chris Bledsoe's running around selling a book now. He just leaves out the fact that one of his Kool-Aid drinking cult members murdered someone. That's a bit of a problem, right? Yeah, leave that out of the story. Kimmy77 says, when the hell is somebody like Danny Jones having you on a large podcast that's really going to make a difference to this community? Well, again, I don't want to say too much. I don't know. I've been contacted by a few large platforms, and I told them all the same thing. You tell me when you need me there, and I will be there. Will it happen? I hope so. Despite whatever criticism people have of me, throw out most anything from UFO mythology, and I have a pretty encyclopedic knowledge of most of the cases and all of that. So I would be happy to help enlighten some larger platforms. Nolan is looking old these days without mascara, says Mark Tirana. Longtime show supporter, Mark Tirana. Yes, Patty says, I liked Murder in UFO Land. People should watch it. Richard Dolan started off good, got worse after that. They all suffer from UFO disease, Chuck Bam. I think people start off in this thing, but as soon as it becomes a full-time job for them, just to be clear, this is not a full-time job for me. This is extremely part-time sort of situation. I think as soon as it becomes a full-time job for people, they go to the grift zone because they got to make the money. Imagine the hell of Richard Dolan. Every month, he's got to come up with new stories about aliens and UFOs, or he doesn't eat. Now, what happens when you come across a month or two or three or five or six where you really don't have any good stories that are factual and real, or maybe, credible stories? Are you just going to starve for 6 months, or are you going to start grifting? And that's what I think happens to a lot of these people. Easy money, right? Randy says the cigar guy looks weird. Billy Hicks, with a kind and generous $20, says, for the Grift Month Fund, never stop seeking and sharing your truth. You may not have a huge following and loads of financial benefits, but you have one of the tightest knit communities that will love you always and forever. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Billy Hicks, for your kindness, generosity, and support. We've got a big praise the cash. This one's for Billy Hicks, longtime show supporter. I'm always happy to see these longtime show supporters. Sometimes they're not in the live chat for a little while, but then they pop up again, and I go, oh, good, they're still with us, right? And Billy Hicks is usually here, though, but nice to see you. And we got a big praise the cash, and thank you for all you kind and generous benefactors, both tonight and always. You Patreon supporters, you YouTube channel members, super chatters. Remember, super thanks works. You hit that money button. Hit that money button. And have an attitude of gratitude. I definitely have an attitude of gratitude. Thank you all for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, thank you. Billy Hicks, longtime show supporter. Martin R says, you'd rock on Danny's. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll just say this. One of the issues is that, for those unaware, I am the more or less full-time caretaker of a nonverbal autistic child, my son. And so being able to fly somewhere to do a podcast is kind of difficult. I'll do anyone that lets me do it virtually, and I will consider people that need me to be there in person. Now, I realize that many big platforms, they insist on in-person interviews. In fact, I want to start insisting on in-person interviews. We've built a separate studio just for in-person interviews, and we hope to start using it. I had a bunch of people tell me they would come here, but then we try to work out the details, and people got busy. I got busy. If I can do it, I will commit to doing any large, especially a large platform, 100,000 or more subscribers. That would certainly benefit us. And if somebody really wants the second red pill, I'm here to help give it to them. And I watched and cheered him on. I know that happened a few times to Jeremy Rise, alien scientist, and God bless him. Yeah, and there we go. Smith is mentioning Jeremy's interview on that podcast was good. Yeah, it was very good, right? Very, very good. I definitely, listen, there before the grace of God go I. I'm never, I was happy for Jeremy, and I'm happy for anybody that gets to go on a show to get a big bump, because that slow, steady growth. We've been trying to get to 10,000 subscribers for a few years now. I'm sure it's going to happen eventually, and it will be uneventful and not what I'd imagine. We're just under 9,600 subscribers, need 412 more of you people to, and by the way, I should do the good YouTuber thing. Smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. It really does help. And if you're listening in audio podcast land, go on over to YouTube, put Truthseekers, one word, in the search bar. You'll see a strange guy with sunglasses pop up. That would be me. Go to the channel, smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We love all you people in audio podcast land, but you should listen to the live tapings. We welcome you to come and be a part of our live community here. And if you're one of these people coming to our live chats, and people always comment that we have great live chats. Well, we have a great live chat going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And one of our chat room moderators, Arden Paranormal, or Lizzie, will add the Discord channel link. Go join over there. Then we've got all these different sections on different parts of conspiracy land. It's a good crowd over there. And be sure to follow me on Twitter. I post a lot of stuff there at Stephen Cambion. Follow me on Instagram at Truthseeker Show. I'd really appreciate a follow on Instagram. Many of you, or most of you, have an Instagram account. I had one, never used it. Now I'm using it. and I'm feeling unloved over there. You know, I'm looking at my followers. Then I look at some of my friends' followers who told me to do Instagram years ago, and I didn't listen, and they've got a lot. It's a great way to support the show, and it costs you nothing. Just smash that follow button wherever you can. Twitter at Stephen Cambion, Instagram at Truthseeker Show. You can also follow me on Facebook. It's just my name, Stephen Cambion, or look for the Truthseekers page on Facebook. We appreciate all that online support. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. It really, really does help. And I see you people sharing or retweeting what I'm tweeting or Xing now, or posting. What do you call it now? Anyway, we're gonna play the show out with my favorite of all of Simon Fly's music videos, and that would be "We Grifters." Apparently, I don't know what happened, but I think that all the people calling them grifters got to Corbell and Knapp, and they actually did a piece where they commented on being called grifters, and it makes for, you know, great music videos. And now, of course, I'm going to struggle to find that one music video. It's called "We Grifters." We've played it here before. We're going to try to find it because I think it's important. Yeah, you're kidding me. I can't. Oh, I've got "Weaponize Your Hellfire" as well. So we'll play out with. Well, let me see. I think it might be here. And by the way, I have to take some time to organize my show bumpers. It is a mess in here. What we get, oh, I got it. Okay, great. "We Grifters" by Simon Fly. And we're also going to play "Weaponize Your Hellfire" on the way out. So listen, we've done our due diligence, more than our due diligence. I will be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with another data-rich show for you. It may be the last live show of the week. I'm still trying to figure that out. But we may be doing a panel show this weekend. For those unaware, panel shows where anybody can join the discussion, join the show. In those cases, the panel shows, you don't just watch the show or listen to the show. You can come and join the show, and all are welcome. I'll make an announcement about that on my Twitter. But for now, we've done our due diligence. I'm going to bounce on out of here. So I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope all of you will be here with me. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, even you grifters. I pray that these people find a better way to make money than lying and deceiving people. Always remember, some people would rather have a pretty lie rather than the ugly truth, but the truth is still worth having. Good night, and God bless all of you.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks. Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks.
I'm an intel guy. 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 We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters. Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes. Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
Say yes.
Luis Elizondo. 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 Luis Elizondo.
I love licking Bob Lazar's butthole. It's my favorite butthole to lick.
The Mosul Org. The Mosul Org. The Mosul Org. Org. UFOs. UFOs. Metallic looking ball.
Praise God.
Metallic looking ball.
Praise God.
Nonsense. Nonsense.
The movement of the Spirit of God, the movement of the Spirit of God, the movement of the Spirit of God that has been prayed over.
Nonsense, 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 the debunkers. Nonsense, 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 the debunkers. Nonsense, 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 the debunkers. Nonsense, 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 the debunkers. Nonsense.
This flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. This flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. This flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. This flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. This flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. This flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and power.
Masses.
Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo.
For the masses.
Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo.
For the masses. Yeah. For the masses.
Good trouble shows. Good trouble shows. Good trouble shows. Good trouble shows.
For the
Soul Foundation.
Yeah.
The Soul Foundation.
For the
we grifters.
Yeah.
We grifters.
For the masses.
We the people have to come together. We the people have to come together.
For the masses.
We the people have to come together. We the people have to come together.
Hi, everyone, here and around the world. Tall, white, Nordic. Tall, white, Nordic. Hi, everyone, here and around the world. Tall, white, Nordic. Tall, white, Nordic. The tall, white extraterrestrials. Nordic. The tall, white extraterrestrials. Nordic. The tall, white extraterrestrials. Nordic. Tall, white, Nordic. Tall, white, Nordic.
UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies.
People who might not buy everything
we shouldn't believe you. When you say you have firsthand knowledge, maybe we shouldn't believe you.
Legally hold the fact that we're not alone. We've recovered material and we've recovered documents. And beyond that, the fact that we're not alone. We've recovered material and we've recovered documents. And beyond that, ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Any evidence?
Ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Any evidence?
I'm an intel guy.
Ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Any evidence?
Ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Any evidence?
I'm an intel guy.
Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Crash retrieval operation. Psychological phenomenon. Crash retrieval operation. Psychological phenomenon.
The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency.
For the masses. Masses.
Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Ontologically shocking but also uniting.
The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you to all the members of NASA's UAP Independent Study Team.
You're a bunch of cowards and lying sacks of shit, and your names are going to go down in history. Watch it. Watch it. Can't believe it. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. You're a bunch of cowards. You're cowards. And it's over. It's done. We know. We have the information. Can you feel that? Huh? Can you feel it? Yo, that. Nice. You had alien tech? Of course you could take over the world.